society, groups, and media outlets across the continent dedicated to tackling corruption head on. Global governance insights suggest that public sector in sub-Saharan Africa is the most corrupt and is the most corrupt of any region in the world. Many citizens believe that levels of corruption have increased in recent years and are not satisfied with the government's anti-corruption efforts. Corruption practices are deeply intertwined with ongoing conflict and state fragility in some African countries, notably in the Horn of Africa, the Sahel region, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Political corruption is common and it takes many forms, such as state capture, patronage network, upkeep political financing, vote buying, and unresolved conflict of interest. Land-based corruption is especially prevalent in region, and studies have shown that women are particularly vulnerable. Various regional and legal instruments have been introduced in the last 2 decades with mixed results. While there are ongoing number of regional organizations, civil society, and media groups involved in anti-corruption framework. Sub-Saharan Africa consists of countries found in the south of the Sahara Desert. The World Bank statistics. The World Bank statistics from 2018 recorded a total population of 1, 1, 1.078 billion citizens, making it the second largest populated region in the world. World Bank 2018 report. The history of sub-Saharan Africa, particularly in the 19th and 20th century, is characterized chiefly by the European colonialism, while majority governments controlled by economic, political, and of most countries. Then the 20th century witnessed armed struggles, violent, violent confrontations as black majority parties and groups fought for their independence from colonial governments. Colonialism plundered the continent while shifting local political and economic development. They left behind a legacy with reformation of the present as reflected in the patterns of contemporary globalization. Here in Robinson 2013 and 2015. Across the continent, many countries have made significant strides in social, political, economic spheres since the turn of the millennium. Throughout, some of these successes have yet to be firmly consolidated. South Sudan is a good example of this mix of promise and volatility. The country became the youngest state in the world in 2011 after 98.83% of people voted in a referendum to separate from Sudan to form an independent state. The culmination of the peace process that had ended Africa's longest civil war in 2005, while the country has since experienced a new peace agreement was signed in 2018 to introduce a power-sharing government, and the opposition leader Riek Machar was sworn in as vice president in February 2020. In the last few years, citizens in some African countries have taken to the streets to demand change, which has resulted in the removal of long-term leaders from power. In Burkina Faso, citizens protested against plans by the former president Blaise Compaoré to extend his 27 years of office. Comparing his resignation in 2014, former President Yahya Jammeh was forced to end his 22-year rule in the Gambia in 2017 after losing election to newly elected President Adama Barrow in 2019. The former president of Sudan, Omar al-Bashir, was removed from from office by the military in 2019 after 30 years in power. With the army taking control of the transition of power, citizens protested in the streets. Citizens protested in streets in demand of civilian government, leading to the appointment of Abdullah Hamdok as leader in the transitional government. Facing multiple charges of crimes committed during his presidency, al-Bashir was recently convicted and sentenced to 2 years imprisonment of corruption. Another step forward is the desire by African leaders to end war in violence and on the continent. The current theme of the African Union is focused on the campaign, silencing the guns by 2020 towards a peaceful and a secure Africa. The campaign is aimed at achieving an Africa free of wars, violent conflicts, and human rights violations. African Union 2019. African countries have likewise demonstrated commitments to work together towards shared prosperity. The African Union's Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, is a blueprint for political, social, and economic transformations on the continent. African Union Commission 2015. It sets out Africa's aspiration on key issues such as inclusive growth and development, regional integration, good governance, human rights, and a peaceful and a secure Africa. Human Rights Commission 2015. Extension of corruption. Sub-Saharan Africa was the lowest ranking region in 2019 Corruption Perception Index, CPR, with a regional average score of 32 out of 100. Transparency International 2020, the global average score is 43, and the African average indicates how corruption in public sector across the region is perceived to be. The nature of corruption. 1. Political corruption. Corruption is a serious challenge to political integrity in African countries. As a result of 2019 survey indicates many Africans believe there is a high level of political corruption in their countries, particularly by government officials, parliamentarian, and head of states of governments. Transparency International 2019 in countries like DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, the office of the president or the prime minister, 82% of crime of corruption was committed by him, and parliamentarians 79% are perceived as the most corrupt institutions. Political corruption can take many forms, ranging from unresolved conflicts of interest and crooked political financing of the distribution of embezzled funds, extensive patronage, the abuse of state resources, and ultimately state capture. 2. State capture. State capture involves a situation where powerful individuals, institutions, companies, and groups within or outside a country use corruption to influence a nation's policy, legal environment, and economy to benefit their own private interests. Transparency International Anti-Corruption Glossary. Such capture of state institutions by private persons to influence state policies and decisions of their own private benefits has become a significant concern in Africa. Its main consequence is that interests of a specific group are prioritized over public interest in the operation of the state in South Africa. The term was often used to describe a relationship between former President Jacob Zuma and the Gupta family. According to the state capture report by the public protector, the Gupta family profited unduly from the corrupt relationship with the former president and influenced executive decisions such as appointment and dismissal of ministers and the awarding of government contracts to the family's businesses. Public Protector South Africa 2016. State capture may involve a more indistinct, proximate alignment of interest between the state business and the political elites through family relationships, friendship, or business relationship. In such a situation, state policies or institutions are used to benefit private interests of those connected in political elites. For example, Isabel dos Santos, who is the richest woman in Africa, the daughter of former Angolan President Jose Eduardo dos Santos, and Africa's richest woman, who is reported to have exploited her father's position for her own private gain. According to Lunda Leaks, the Dos Santos families allege that state capture included the abuse of executive power to award governments contracts such as telecoms, permits, and diamond mining rights to the benefit of Asabel and her family. International Consortium of Investigative Journalists in 2020. What is more, the lender leaks revealed financial enablers, including financial institutions, law firms, accountants, who created and facilitated channels to grant corruption by the Dos Santos family. Patronage networks. Government reliance on extensive patronage network is a common feature in some African countries. These patronage networks are part of informal power structures, which determine who get access to public office rather. The patronage practices include the three C's, namely co-optation, one, two, control, and three, camouflage. Co-optation includes the recruitment or strategic appointments of associates and potential opponents who are granted impunity in abuse of state power and resources in exchange for mobilizing support and maintaining loyalty to the regime. Control of mechanisms are already management for
You have been listening to.
to safeguard.
We are still here with.
Can I proceed?
Leader Kaba Jr. and he's still presenting his thesis statement. Just if you are tuning in, this is Real Music Studio right here in the Western United States of America. If you don't know, leadership, Tuazama Leadership Academy School is one of those schools that is online, and students are all around the world learning leadership skill. Right now, presenting is Leader Kaba Jr. Let's go.
And control beyond accountability. For instance, it may include punishing a detractor to show anti-corruption commitments. Empirical evidence has shown the evidence of such informal governance of all power networks in Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda. In Nigeria, powerful patrol client networks in the electoral sector create opportunities to rent capital. Patronage examples also exist in the health sector across sub-Saharan Africa, and it has influence on health system governance, including distribution of resources. Before the removal of President Kampore in Burkina Faso, the executive had a massive influence on most appointments of public officials and also controlled the payment and transfer of resources to local governments. Such strategic and clientelistic recruitment practices and control over local government financing were key electoral tactics deployed by Kampore to remain in power. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, the DRC, client relationship characterized the presidency of Joseph Kabila as allegations were raised of corrupt cabinet ministers and government elites channeling illicit gains to the president in exchange for keeping their positions and getting protection from persecution. As a result, the president and his family are at the top of an enormous and organized system of graft. amass
Mr.
wealth
Kappa.
at the expense of the public. For instance, the family of a former president allegedly owned more than 80 companies and had active interest in farming, mining, banking, real estate, airlines, and telecoms, and held over 71,000 hectares of land in Congo. For
Mr. Kappa. Mr.
conflict
Kappa.
of interest.
Mr. Kappa.
Yes, yes,
Let's get into understanding what corruption is. Should we call
yeah.
corruption the little man way of seeing stealing? Should we refer to corruption as stealing?
Yes, corruption should be referred to as stealing.
Then what's the difference between embezzlement and stealing?
So, yeah, so it's another form of protecting those who works in government. So, in fact, because the real criminal are those who goes to school. The real criminal are those who are educated that have all of the master's degree and PhD. So there's no word different from embezzlement, and there's no word different like having different meaning or synonyms and antonyms. No, corruption is corruption, stealing is stealing. But when you are educated or working in government, they give it a finding as to say embezzlement. That is, you work in government. And when a layman steal, you are referred to a criminal or you stole. So there's no difference, right? So once you are educated, you will know that there's no difference. Stealing is just stealing.
Thank you. And let's consider like you are given the opportunity to be president of one of those countries that 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 are part of your thesis. Like you first
Yeah,
to the Congo in your thesis. Let's consider like we give you the opportunity right now to be
yeah.
president of DRC Congo. What will you do first to tackle corruption in the DRC?
So thank you, fine, and thank you so much for the brilliant question. And I want to explain or expand on this extemporaneously, right? So if
Yes.
you give me an opportunity to be president for for Cameroon, the first thing is that Africa's problem is homogeneous, not heterogeneous, which homogeneous, which means they are similar. The same problem we face in Liberia is the same problem Nigerians are facing. Like Congo, no job. Now, if we give me the opportunity to be president, if I have the opportunity to be president for Cameroon or any other African country, the first thing that I will do is to do one thing. Now, you will notice in most African countries, there's no national agenda for Africa. Each country, what a political institution or ruling party does is that they fool the people when they come to power and do something called agenda. Like for example, you have in Liberia the poverty reduction. I mean, you have the PAPD, the pro-poor agenda. That is unrealistic. The PAPD says that every year 1 million or some more thousand of jobs will be given to citizens in Liberia. If I become president, I will trash that all, and my government in the first 100 days will enact with the legislator to do a national agenda where every president apart from me will sit down and go by that agenda. For example, like we copy after from America. If my government will only do pay the one which is education, the 6 year then it will only do education. If the next government comes, there's no need to interact another political sentimental agenda, but you will go exactly by the rules we lay out. The next thing I will do, I will allow the speaker to come from the opposition party. The essence of democracy is for check and balances. The essence of democracy is for somebody to hold you accountable. So I will in Liberia or at most African countries, we have had we have not experienced that kind of government. So what I will do, I will make the speaker to come from the opposition. That is, everything I want should not be milky. If it is wrong, the opposition who is their highest position or ranking in any country should tell me that this is wrong because you will have interest. I mean, you will have influence over the representative. The second thing I will do, the second thing I will do in most African countries, like for example, the code of conduct currently in most African countries should be used to fight corruption. It is up to the president No, it is not. So we'll institute a law that before you become president, you should declare your asset before even you take office. Once you finish winning, before you take office, you should declare your assets. Now, there are two reasons
Okay,
for law.
okay.
The two reasons: one is reasoning, two is intent.
There is this saying that is going all around the place about African leaders. Lots of people in the Western world refers to African leaders as lazy.
Yeah,
They know they don't know how to build anything. But when you give them power, they come to the common people and present themselves like they are genius in developing the country. They know how to build roads. They know how to do this. They know how to do that. But when you give them the seat of headmaster, they become the hunters of the people. What will you say to the Western world that referring to our brothers in leadership as
yeah,
people that
yeah.
don't know how to build anything? What will you say to them? Let's consider like you have the
Now,
opportunity to
see
talk
the
to
thing.
them.
Yeah, see the thing. See the thing is that in the Western world, if you put your hand up to be president like Barack Obama, I follow Barack Obama when he went and he won the nomination of the Democrats. They said to check him back as far as he grew up in Chicago, then went to the church of his family. The first thing I should say to you and to as a young person and as a young man coming up who is studying leadership, I want to be a leadership expert, that we can develop Africa, we can change Africa together, we can do it. Now, there's no leader in Africa. What we have is just politicians. Aristotle made it clear to say that human by nature, we are all politicians. The essence of politics is for personal, is for interest, right? And worst of it all, the African children, even African elders, they see politics to be having your side, whether good or bad. Now, this is the reason why we've come to this school to make sure we to make sure we can say what we want to say, and our young people should be educated to the west of it can. When the world needed an agenda for development, for example,
It's
the young
15
people
hours.
developed SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, and today everywhere around the world countries are using that. So our people in Africa, our people in Africa are not really leading the country the right way because they fail to learn the right way. Take for example, check how
Mr.
many
Kaba,
young people, how many presidents. You
Leader
will take
Kaba,
celebrity and making president, right? Who have no historicity of being a real leader. We go by not even going beyond the scope, beyond our horizon, analyzing and putting them under the microscopic position in which we can view them and watch their position. Science says that if a young person or somebody who does things for 21 days, that is called an incubation period, that person is used to it. Is used to it. Worst of it all, when you practice that, I'm a leader of an organization and having several other positions. I'm the CEO of the top Africa International. Whenever we reach the critical example, one thing about you being a leader, you should build people, right? You should not always be like suppressive. No, discuss. I call my team, let's go and discuss it. Like in
Mr.
the
Kaba.
school, if there are issues, we call ourselves to find solution. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And you created the lecture, you brought the theme, the fire, you blaze it. Your paper is great. Nothing else I can say to
Say,
you, bro. Your paper is great. Nothing else I can say to you, bro. Thank you so much. Just in case we will need you
thank
on 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 some other episode of our programs that we will need you to come and help with promoting upcoming artists around the world, musicians around the world, new artists around the world, creating opportunity for people that don't have uh uh their future known to them. Will you be willing to come and help us out?
you. Anytime you ready, call me up. Just contact Mr. Tuazama and then he will let me know. I'm available.
At this time, we were just right there with Mr. Kaba, students at the leadership, Tuazama Leadership School, based in Pennsylvania. And he said he's in the Arab Emirates. I believe he's a Liberian.
Yes, I'm a Liberian.
He just dissected. He took leadership into the operation room and he dissected it. And you could see the veins, the blood, the bones. And I said the brother took the thing to chemistry lab also. Brother, thank you, man. We'll let you go, yeah? We'll allow you to go now.
Okay, no problem. And then one thing, you were talking about one competition.
Ready? Daddy,
If you are just tuning in, this is Tuazama Leadership School student thesis presentation under the voice of Real Papa, right here in Real Music Studio in Delaware State, United States of America. Right now, we have a student Prince Albert is right now in studio trying and preparing to storm the mic. In 1 minute from now, we'll be introducing Stephen Prince A. Albert. Mr. Prince A. Albert, leader Prince A. Albert, you are welcome. Introduce yourself, where you from, and what your thesis statement is all about.
Yes, sir. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of this presentation, to prove myself as a student of the Tuazama Leadership School. My name is Prince A. Albert from Liberia. I'm presently from Margibi County, Habia to be specific, working with the Friars from Liberia in the IT department. I'm so grateful for the CEO, Mr. Tuazama, giving me the opportunity to be part of the institution. My thesis statement is based on the cause and effects of substance and drug abuse among the youth of Liberia, which are our future leaders. I'm from the level 3, part of level 3 student of the Tuazama Leadership School, required to do this TC in fulfillment of our requirement for advanced diploma with concentration in project management. I chose the topic because of the prevalence of drugs abuse and effects they are causing our society, mainly in one area. They are causing a whole lot of damages to youth and increasing crime rate. So I go directly to summarize what I have on my TC. I have the ASCRAP, and this is a comprehensive study of the cause and effects of substances and drugs abuse among Liberian youth, who are our present future leaders of this nation. This thesis is actually based on a report and interview conducted in the field, along with cases gathered by relevant Liberian citizens who are direct victims of this act. Future leaders of this nation are being hauled down to a devastating point of life because of drugs abuse in Liberia. This project was possible without, wouldn't have been possible without the support of many of my colleagues, especially my friends and brother, Mr. Samuel Fitz Jr., who gave me support and read my script. I go directly to the introduction. Liberia is one of West Africa and Africa's oldest nation, and it is noted to be one of the least in human resource and infrastructure development due to lack of proper management and law enforcement by past leaders. As we can see how the country is still dragging on by now. Substances and drug abuse have been a major contributing factor to the diminishing lives of many young Liberians, men, women, and children, especially among adolescents. Those are the ages of 16, 17, before reaching 18. Eventually, this is leading to an increase in criminal activities because these youth are mostly unemployed. They are vulnerable in the streets. They engage in criminal activities to support their hobbies. The trickle-down effect is on a guilt-free population that suffer the most from varying unlawful acts exhibited by substance abusers, including the smashing of personal belongings, scam, theft, and leaving the country vulnerable to poor health, unemployment, hunger, and high death rates. What lead to this alarming situation and many other factors are covered in this thesis. So go directly to the literary review. The high level alcohol consumption by young people and the increase in substances and drugs abuse in Liberia, most especially in the urban area, are troubling because of the association between the harmful consumption of alcoholic beverages and drugs as compared to the consequences to the health and social life, like domestic violence in the home. The man will be on her work because he's drunk. He will even kill his own children. Also, HIV infection and other STIs, among others, teenage pregnancies, and so forth, are caused by drugs abuse. How these things started in Liberia. Liberia as a nation was not known to be a drugs abuse nation. Well, Liberia as a whole did it far back to the Civil War. This issue did it far back to the Civil War when our young men and women started to use gunpowder when they were threatening war. They used gunpowder, they used marijuana, and all illegal substances to get them fit for battle and to also stimulate them so that they can be brave in the field of war. The problem is rooted from the use of children as war machines. Kids were used to fight war due to their ignorances. Between 1990 and 2003, many children were conscripted and regularly drugs to fight war for various factions, which you saw how badly it ended in this country. 16 years we suffered this because of lack of ignorance, using of kids. You see their eye will get red and they will lose the mind of humanity. They will kill anyone, even their own father or whatever.
Albert,
What are the types of drugs like during types of
Albert,
drugs abusing like?
Leader Albert,
Yes, sir. Yes,
your
sir.
background is your background is terrible. Your background is
Okay, sir.
terrible.
Is he here? Let me give him just one. Okay, sir.
Thank you.
I'm back. Okay.
So the person
Is he
sounding
here?
in your background, you need to start.
Yeah, please stop small, yeah? Am I okay, sir?
Yes.
No, it's in the back. Okay, sir. So some of the types of drug abuse we have in Liberia are alcohol. Alcohol is one of the common types of drugs abuse. We have cigarettes and other tobacco products. We have inhalants. We have marijuana. I don't want to take my time to go through them because of the time. We have cocaine and cracks. These are types of drugs abuse that we have in Liberia. People overlook alcohol, but alcohol has been one of the major issues in Liberia. Almost every weekend, Every holidays, you see young people in the street. In fact, you will see young girls. They go to the club, they dress up, leave their parents at home, and they go to the club, they get drunk, and men use them, causing a whole lot of problem in this country. The cocaine have been one of the drugs that is prevalent in Liberia. We don't know how it comes in the country, but younger boys, they has a whole lot of ghettos around, and they taking this thing, they get high, they check people's phones in the street, harass young people in the corner, harass them, will never take their phones, their bags, and money, and all of this stuff. It's causing terrible problem in this country. So I'll go direct to the methodology. To require more info and data about this emerging alarming situation in Liberia, we decided to do a live field data collection and research from website and other relevant entities with information. According to Liberian Drugs Enforcement Agency, the LDEA, they reported that there are approximately 355 ghettos in Mosarala County alone. Of the 355 ghettos, 88 new ghettos were added in 2022. It's recorded that 60% of the ghettos are permanent and 40% are makeshift. From observation, there's an increase in the number of ghettos during the dry season because most drugs addicted people use wetland to establish temporary ghettos. This information was gathered from the newdownlibrary.com. The study sought to generate useful data on the field of drugs, the effect of drugs abuse on youth in Liberia. Therefore, the finding of this study can be used in several ways by Ministry of Education, MOE, and the Ministry of Youth and Sports to find out ways of preventing drugs through public enlightenment campaigns, promote awareness on the dangers of drugs abuse and how they affect an individual, the family, even the society at large. These are the analysis that we made from data that were collected from the field. The field data collection was done in Habia Magibi County, to be specific, Farson section, in order to gather more evidence and information regarding the age range, category of young people affected, and the amount of women and kids involved in substance and drug abuse. The following were data that are collected from the fields. On the age range of men from 19 to 50, we have a 40% that we're able to talk to, which percentage was 41.5%. The women from the age of 18 to 40, we were able to talk to 23 of them, which percentage was about 24%. Girls from 5 to 18, we were able to talk to 15%, which amount of 15.5%. And the boys 12 to 20 years, we were able to talk to 18%, which amount of 18%. Total is 96 respondent. Now, there were a few questions that were asked, and what prompted you to start taking in-sourcing abuse? What causes? One of the causes are lack of resources. We had 25% that responded that because of lack of resources, they got involved into drugs abuse, which amount to 26% of the total number. Peer pressure, friends leading you to get into drugs abuse. Had 40% that said they got involved into drug abuse because of friends encouraging them. That amounted to 41.5%. And other people say because of hardship, difficulties, they don't have means to get work to do, no job, no money. So they do something to get themselves focused to, not think on what is happening in society. So we had that amount of 32.3%, which total 96. So the total number result of the questionnaire, we had number of persons involved in drugs abuse amount to over 65 of the 96 that were interviewed, which have a percentage amounted to 67.7%. Those are not involved, about 31, amounted to 32.3%. Now, come to the result of drugs abuse. What are the consequences and the effects? The use of illicit substances or drugs abuse is something that has negative effect on the impact of the user. Many users of these harmful substances are treated to their communities and the greater society at large. And many, they are uneducated, they are dropped out of school because of substance abuse. The user in the community are seen as risk because they had the potential of influencing their friends and peers to start using these illegal drugs too. So there's a need for government and other international partners to pay more attention to the threat of illicit drugs and rehabilitate the user in order to minimize crimes and other bad activity resulting from the use of illicit drugs. It also have health implication. According to our international research, physical disabilities and diseases and the effect of possible overdoses are among the health-related consequences of teenage substance abuse.
Okay, okay.
Disappropriate
Now,
numbers of youth involved. Sorry.
let's get into your paper a little bit. Let me get into your paper a little bit. So we are focusing on drugs abuse and uses. Let me just say just use in Liberia. But first, how
Sure.
how the drugs that is being abused come into Liberia? What are those drugs?
Well, okay, like I said, we I can be specific because we have two different means of which goods and commodities arrive in Liberia. To the Rawa International Airports, uh, to the seaport. These are means which commodity comes into this country. But perhaps some of these drugs that come in this country might be the involvement of high, uh, I should put it like maybe those are high authority. Because before an item arrive at a seaport or at the airport, it should be scrutinized by security. But sad to say, we don't know how these things come to this country. So when these things are in this country, it means that we should have there are people of high authority that are involved into them. I can give you an example. At the security checkpoints, when government official vehicle come in, they just go, oh, bossman sir, they salute that person and they are all gone. They don't check what is in the vehicle or they don't know what they are passing. So perhaps these might have been some of the means by which these substances enter into this country.
Let's consider like we gave you the position or opportunity to be uh, director of the justice enforcement in Liberia right now. What would you do differently?
Yes, well, I don't have a security knowledge anyway, so because the LDA are doing the best, but these are problems that we encounter on a daily basis. Like one of my colleagues is part of the LDA. I asked him one time, so sometimes you guys arrest these people that bring in the drugs beside the user themselves. What do you do with them? Because after a few days, you see guys back into the community, especially where I live. Several times they are arrested two people, and after a few days, see them back. And those same very user, they'll carry them to the cell after a few days, see them back in the street. So they got a bold to tell me that sometimes they can actually do their best, but when they carry these people and turn it over to the authority, to the people in high authority, they will say, leave it with us. And then after some time, these people are back. In fact, one time he was harassed. He arrested somebody that wanted to bribe him. He said no to the person, to a higher authority, thinking that the person was going to go to prison. After a few days, the man was back. And the man went to your house to harm him.
Okay, another question.
So if yes,
What strategy will you deploy if you are given the opportunity to serve in your community as counselor for people that are abusing drugs, that they can
okay.
they can see the difference between those who are not using drugs and those who are using drugs, and for them to find themselves? What will you do different?
Okay, very good. For one thing, when someone is selling goods when there's no buyer, the goods become useless. So those people that I would target, if I'm in a position to do that, would be the end user of drugs. Because when they are not using the drugs, there'll be no need of the input of the input drugs or even selling drugs. So we need to tell government to implement awareness in institution, meaning in the school. because the children even carry drugs to school. So they should carry on awareness, encourage these young ones to know the effects that these things are causing on the society, that they are future leaders. If their brains get damaged, if they develop health problem, there will be no means that these people will be able to lead the country in the next few years from now. So we talk to the end user, we convince them to stay away from using drugs, and then it will be minimized.
So, have you ever heard about real music platform?
Oh, it's my first time actually being on the hearing about this real music, and I was so glad today, privileged to be on your show.
So, real music is all about giving people the opportunity to be seen in the world. You can be an artist, you can be an advocate, you can be whosoever, as long as you have something that you can present to the world, we are with you. Your thesis is something like that interests me so much.
Okay,
So when you see me asking you this question, I want you to dive deep. It shouldn't just be about you coming on here. I want you to even establish
okay,
an organization that will focus on counseling
okay,
within
sir.
your community. Think about it.
I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that, sir.
It will help you a lot, and it will go viral.
Yeah,
And you will help people within your community to get free from drugs use. All right.
I will appreciate that, sir. That'll be a great opportunity for me.
Uh, we were just here talking to little Prince A. Albert. Prince A. Albert was presenting his thesis that focused on just abused, and guess what? He's from Liberia. And Liberia is one of those countries that fought 15 years civil war. And he said a lot of young people in Liberia fought the civil war, and their ambition started from people preparing to fight the civil war by using gunpowder as drugs. And now, if Prince A. Harbor is given the opportunity to establish a non-profit organization that will focus on young people, I think Prince A will be doing something great with his community. Nothing else we can say to this brother. His thesis statement is perfect. He did a great job. His research area is one of those places young people around the world, not just Liberia, the United States, is even facing methamphetamine, a lot of different drugs, and the suicide rate have been on. Oh. Little Prince, nothing else we can say to you but just to tell you thank you. And if we want you to come back here to work with us on drugs related presentations for upcoming artists, because a lot of people that are using drugs right now in Liberia are musicians, if I'm right. I have worked with a lot of young
Yes,
people in
right.
Monrovia that are using drugs. They don't even know that you have to separate your career as a musician from the drugs. But they are putting them
So,
together and thinking like the drugs will make them hard for them to make good lyrics. What will you say to upcoming artists
yes.
right there with you in Monrovia, Liberia, that are using drugs?
Well, I would like to encourage our brothers that drugs has no good effects. Everything but drugs, two things: death or damage to life. If you don't die of drugs abuse, you get your life backward. Even there are some artists that we know of today that came up very well because of drugs abuse. They are nowhere today. So let's keep ourselves away from drugs. It will damage this country, damage our future, and damage Liberia. We are backward. Liberia is not going ahead. We want to do our best to empower ourselves, help this nation to grow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for giving me the privilege to present on the show.
If you are just tuning in, this is Real Music Studio with Real Papa behind the mic. EJ, upcoming artist right there in Monrovia, Liberia. If you don't know EJ, he's one of the upcoming artists that is becoming a superstar. EJ. The song tag is No Do. Go and find a copy of this song right now. Why you turn your back when I was down? Right now we have another student in studio right now that will be taking on to him, Leader Daniel.
Good evening, everyone.
Daniel is from the Tuazama Leadership School.
Thank you, CEO of Tuazama Leadership School, the radio presenter, Tuazama leaders. Today, I'm presenting my thesis on the topic Impact of Employee Commitment on Organizational Performance, a literature review. It is submitted to Tuazama Leadership School for the award of Advanced Diploma in Leadership and Management with a concentration in Human Resource Management. I am from South Sudan. My key variables for the studies are the independent variables and dependable variables are employee commitments as independent variables and organizational performance as dependable variable. Independent variables refers to cost variable and dependable variable refers to effect variables. So under employee commitments, we have three variables to look at. One of the variable to look at is continuous commitments. We have normative commitments. We have affective commitments. Then under the organizational performance, which is the defendable variables, we have organizational goal achievement, we have organizational effectiveness, organizational efficiency, and improved productivities. We have the conceptual framework for the study, which is the IV and the DV. Under my independent variables, I have continuous commitment as a variable to investigate. Then I have normative commitments also as a variable and affective commitments. Then under my DV, as I have stated it there earlier, we have organizational goal achievements, we have organizational effectiveness, organizational efficiency, and improve productivity. The statement of the problem of why I have done this research to submit to Tuazama Leadership School. My statement of the problem is there were several research on human resource management practices suggested that high commitment of human resource personnel increases organizational effectiveness, efficiency, productivity by creating a condition whereby employee becomes highly motivated and involved in the organizational activities aimed at achieving organizational goals. Is said by Gartwich at 2007. So we also find that high labor turnover, absenteeism, poor motivation, and low performance are some of the features of employee low commitment to an organization. In sub-Saharan Africa, low employee commitments affect personal life of employees, which result in low performance of employee. That's said by Maya, 2010. This results in employee low motivation, low job satisfaction, and lack of organizational commitments among the employee, which might have created negative job attitudes. However, there is a little depth of studies, specifically in South Sudan, that address the impact of employee commitments on organizational performance. And there is a need for a research to be done to gauge the importance of employee commitment. Because in the context of South Sudan, I had done some thorough review of literature on employee commitments, but little research has been done, which were done some years back. But this literature review was done to enlighten us to engage academia to do more research on employee commitments and organizational performance. My theoretical perspective for the study is social exchange theory, which was postulated by Blau, 1964. He tried to explain the social exchange created within the corporal point, which clarified that staffs caring for associates' attachment to a company in step with the idea or in any social interaction, multiple inherent factors predetermine how people react in a social given setting. So staffs get committed to the organization because of their social interaction with their fellows and making them hard to leave what the organization. The research question for the study. My general objective of the study is to investigate the impact of employee commitment on organizational performance. I have specific objective of the study. One of the specific objectives of the study is to examine the link between continuous commitment and organizational performance. I will also want to investigate the connection between normative commitment and organizational performance. The last objective is to determine the association between affective commitment and organizational performance. I have a research question for the study. My research question for the study are, is there any link that exists between continuous commitment and organizational performance? And my research question number 2 is there any connection between normative commitment and organizational performance? Is there any association that occurs between affective commitment and organizational performance? Then thereafter gives me my research hypothesis for the study. I have 3 basic hypotheses for the study. One of the hypotheses is there is no positive link between continuous commitment and organizational performance. My second hypothesis is there is no positive connection between normative commitment and organizational performance. There is no connection between affective commitment and organizational performance. The significance of the study, why this study was carried out. I have basically 4 significance of the study. Why this study was carried out. One of the significance of the study was carried out as a requirement for partial fulfillment for the award of Advanced Diploma in Leadership and Management with a concentration in Human Resource Management at the Tuazama Leadership School. The second significance of the study is the study is aimed to examine the impact of employee commitment on organizational performance, and it gives an overview of the significance of committed workforce contribution towards organizational performance. We needed to find out the significance of committed workforce. How are they contributing to an organizational performance? This is
Leader
one of
Daniel,
the significant. Yes,
Leader Daniel. There's a question.
yes,
There's a question on the screen right here from
yes,
Alexandra T. Wright. Are employees
yes.
committed to any organization they work for? If yes, what makes employee committed to an organization? Can you answer that question?
Employees are committed to an organization when the workplace is very favorable and conducive. For instance, when employees are provided with a medical cover, when they are given appropriate compensation package, uh, when they have a good relationship with their managers, and when the job fits his qualification and the love for the job is according to the what to the job description. Those are the conditions that makes employee committed to the workplace.
Alexandra T. Wright, if you are listening, your question is being answered by Leader Daniel. You can go into your thesis now.
I have a definition of key terms for my thesis. One of the definitions is about employee commitments. Employee commitments solely refers to the degree to which workers feel dedicated to their organization. Then we have affective commitment. It refers to the what? To the emotional attachment, identification, and involvement that a worker has with their what? Organization staffs. We have a continuance commitment. It refers to the nature. It refers to when a staff feels like he wanted to continue to work with the organization because he has that attachment with the what? With the staff and with the organization. Then we have normative commitment. It refers to the commitment that an organization, an individual believes that they need to stay with the organization, or they feel like if they leave the organization, they will not get a better job than the one they are holding at hand. Then we have organizational performance. It refers to the result of action with the talents of workers who performs in some scenario. Is the outcome or output of the staffs. So we have the literature review. Most of my study is a literature review kind of thesis based. So in my literature review, in my thesis, I have talked on the literature related studies. One of is the model of commitments. I have looked at the model of commitments, which are the continuance commitment, normative commitments, affective commitment, which I have defined them, and they had been discussed with many scholars in my literature review, which I have shared with the radio presenter and the Tuazama leadership management at large. Then I have a conclusion for the study. The conclusion of the study explore that there is a positive relationship in the literature, in the articles in the journal that I read. There is a positive correlation between employee commitment and organizational performance. because once employees are committed to the organization, the output that the organization may realize is the organization may achieve its goals, the organization may realize efficiency, the organization may realize effectiveness in its operation, and there is overall improvement in productivity of the staff.
Leader Daniel.
Yes.
Let's consider that you are the boss for your organization. I'm your brother.
Yes. Yes.
And have just lost my job. And I'm
Yes.
inexperienced to the kinds of services your job offer. And
Yes.
being that I'm your brother, I don't know
Yes.
how to fly a plane, and your organization is directly a flight management company that hires aircraft pilot or maintenance. But I have no
Yes.
experience. I am an accountant, and the job does not require accounting services to be provided. Will you
Yes.
hire me directly because I have been sent from my job?
No, I will not hire you because the job does not relate to your professional qualification. So
But I'm your
I may
brother.
hire you.
I'm your brother. I don't
Yes,
have
you are my brother. Yes, you are my brother. But because if I hire you as my brother for the job, you won't contribute. I will be paying you, and at the end of it, the company will what will realize losses. So I better hire a competent person who qualifies for the job, who can do the job better and contributes, and in turn improve the organization performance.
So now, are you committed to your organization, or are you committed to your organization in that sense?
For my perspective, yes, I am committed to my organization. Why? Because they offer me a medical cover, they provide trainings, they provide a better remuneration, and to mention but a few. That's why I get committed, and I feel like, yeah, it is the best place that I can contribute my skills
Hold
to
tight.
better
We'll
the
be doing a
organization.
little bit of promotion right here. If you are just tuning in, this is Real Music Studio right here in Tally Western, United States of America. Presenting right now Thesis Statement Defense. The Tuazama Leadership School students around the world. This song is called Deja Vu from Trumpet D, right there in Monrovia, Liberia, in the beer factory area or the Bonafide area. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I just wanted you to take a little bit of deep breath and come back, refresh, and for you to not be too stressed, you know.
Oh yes, yes.
So let's get to you focus on performance, and I asked you the
Yes.
question that
Yes.
that got entangled both with performance and commitment when it came to
Yes.
hiring your brother. I wanted to know if
Yes.
you were going to hire your brother based on for performance when he's not qualified, and you said no to that.
I say no because one of the job is a pilot, and my brother, as you stated in your statement, if my brother is an accountant, so there is no match between an accountant to a pilot.
Thank
And
you.
being
And then on the other hand, I wanted to see what if you yourself wrote your thesis and did the research. I wanted to see commitment as a boss.
Yes.
You are committed to your
Yes.
organization, and you are committed to your
Yes.
organization, good name, and benefits. So you decline hiring your brother because you are the boss.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Why?
Yes, as I stated before, if I will hire my brother because his professional career is an accountant and the job that I am looking for a competent, qualified personnel to fill in is of a pilot. So once I bring him from accounting to a pilot, once the company will incur an obvious loss because he cannot fly a plane. Two, we may lose customers because the plane will be grounded.
Leader, Daniel,
Yes,
let me just give it to you. You did extremely
yes,
well.
yes,
You read your thesis, you answer the questions, and we have other people waiting to present their thesis. We will let you go. Thank you so much.
okay.
If we want you back here to help with upcoming artists information from your country in South Sudan, I believe there are lot of upcoming artists in South Sudan who don't have platform like this to present their music. Will you be able to gather them together and give me information on them, or tell them to send their songs to us that we can play their songs when we are doing these kind of programs?
Definitely I will.
So this is your assignment now. Please do that for us. Tell all of the upcoming artists in your community to sing us their songs.
Yes,
All right?
yes, I will do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This song is called Deja Vu. I See You. Trumpet D. Right there in Monrovia, Liberia. If you are just tuning in, this is Real Music Studio right here in Danny West State, United States of America. And you are under the voice of Real Papa. And we are presenting Thesis for students at the Tuazama Leadership School, based in Pennsylvania, United States of America. And we will be talking to leader Aladi City Samuel. Aladi C. Samuel.
Yes.
Leader Aladi.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. You are welcome to Real Music platform.
Yes, sir.
We will want you to introduce yourself.
Sir?
We will want you to introduce yourself and
Okay.
your thesis, and give our insight into your thesis.
Okay. I am Aladeshi Samuel. a student of Tuazama Leadership School. Based in Nigeria, Lagos to be precise, Lagos, Nigeria. All protocols observed. The Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of Tuazama Leadership School, the Registrar on the Institute, fellows and leaders of the Institute here present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is an absolute honor and pleasure for me to be here today to deliver a keynote speech titled Impact of Inflation on Economic Growth in Nigeria. And that is my topic, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. First of all, I'll start from here. Inflation. Of course, we have so many interpretations to that statement, inflation. But
I'm listening.
I want here. We can say inflation is the consistent general price level of goods and services without a corresponding increase in the quantity of goods and services over a period of time in a particular country. And that is what inflation is. So looking at the thesis I have here, inflation is one of the deadly economic variables that can paralyze any economy. So we cannot eradicate inflation totally in an economy, but it can be minimized. So it is an economic situation, and it occurs where an increase in the supply of money is greater than the amount of goods and services produced in a country. So maintaining price stability and growth together in an economy is one of the central macroeconomic policy objectives of most developing countries in the world. So, in order to promote economic growth and strengthen the purchasing power of domestic currency for the Nigeria economy, emphasis has been laid by the Central Bank of Nigeria on maintaining stability in prices through the use of expansionary or contractionary monetary policy. So inflation, which connotes the general rise in the price level, is broadly an average measure because at any point in time, prices may be increasing, decreasing, or constant. So a persistent increase in price hurts the economy, particularly the poor, who have little or no savings to cushion the rising prices. So in Nigeria, the mandate of the Central Bank of Nigeria is to ensure price stability, while the National Bureau of Statistics compute and publishes the rate of inflation for all items in the economy: food, manufacturing, and transport, etc. So economists in Nigeria have shown through research that inflation in the economy is caused by several factors, such as increased public spending, increased money supply, interment with scarcity and announcement effects, removal of petroleum subsidy, etc. So the statement of the problem of this thesis is as follows. The Nigerian economy has remained undeveloped for a long period of time, despite being blessed richly with huge human and natural resources. This is a result of various factors such as corruption, unemployment, and inflation. So the listed factor is a major constraint faced by Nigerian economy, and also which the government has faced to fight against due to their self-interest and bad decision by policy maker by policymakers provided by the government to carry out their major activities. Also, the overvalued of the Nigerian currency, Naira, in 1980, after the fall of the oil boom, contributed significantly to the economic distortion in production and consumption, leading to a rise in dependence of the Nigerian economy on goods imported from other countries. So this led to temporary reduction in fiscal deficits. The government reduced our involvement in the economy. So the research question goes thus: does inflation has significant relationship on economic growth in Nigeria? That's the first research question. And the second research question is, what is the relationship between inflation and economic growth in Nigeria? And the third I have here is there any effect of inflation on economic growth in Nigeria? So, to know whether there's significant relationship between inflation and economic growth in Nigeria, to examine relationship between inflation and growth in Nigeria. So, the research hypothesis goes thus. The null hypothesis, you have inflation does not have significant relationship on economic growth in Nigeria. The inflation has significant relationship on economic growth in Nigeria. They also have here there is no significant relationship between inflation and economic growth in Nigeria. The another one is there is a significant relationship between inflation and economic growth in Nigeria. They also have another hypothesis here. Inflation does not have effects on economic growth in Nigeria. And the last hypothesis I have here is inflation has effects on economic growth in Nigeria. So, we have justification for the study. The adverse relationship between inflation and economic growth will attract the attention of government and researchers of the world. Among the main and the major problems of policymakers on how to maintain low and stable inflation rates, as well as relative stability in prices. So I will move to the types of inflation we have so that we can move faster. So the types of inflation we have that any economy can experience, we have demand pull inflation. And whenever we talk about demand pull inflation is when the aggregate demand in the economy is greater than the aggregate supply. And what aggregate supply then means the overall output in the economy. So when the overall output is lower than the demand, the aggregate demand of the entire economy, certainly it will cause what we call demand pull inflation. So another type of inflation we also have is cost push inflation. And cost push inflation can only occur when there is a rising price in the cost of production of goods and services, especially essential goods and services that average citizen cannot do without. So when you talk about cost push inflation, we talk about increase in wages paid to workers. When we talk about cost push inflation, we talk about high increase in cost of transportation. When we talk about cost push inflation, we talk about other increase in the factor output, in the factor input, whenever we are producing in the country. So another types of inflation we also have is what we call imported inflation. And imported inflation can arise when there's increase in the major consumption of goods imported from other countries. For instance, now, if we import electronics from the United States of America, and there's increase in the purchase price of those electronics in the United States, we can be very sure that when those items will come to Nigeria, it will increase certainly more than the normal rate. So that kind of inflation is tagged as imported inflation. So I will quickly look at some of the causes of inflation that we have, or what are the things that contribute to inflation in Nigeria, based on the study I have here. So one of them is low production of domestic foodstuffs. In Nigeria here, we import most of the things we eat. You can imagine somebody importing toothpick, importing basic things we can produce here. And that has contributed to a rising price in general goods and services in Nigeria. Another one again is poor distributive system. You can imagine as I speak to you now in Nigeria, we have fuel scarcity. And the fuel scarcity is what we call artificial scarcity, just to siphon money from the public and to make excessive gain during festive period. And government is doing nothing about it. So another one again is another factor that contributes to inflation in any country, especially Nigeria, is reliance on imported goods. In short, Nigeria, we depend so much on imported items. We import almost everything. We import the wears, shoes, many things we use, basic needs of people. We import most of them. So we hardly produce in Nigeria, and that has contributed immensely to the rising price of goods and services in Nigeria. Another one again is poor storage facilities. Poor storage facilities also there. Then another cause of inflation is Nigeria's civil war between 1967 and 1970. Another cause of inflation is deregulation of economy. Another cause of inflation in any economy is political instability. When there is social unrest, when there's kidnapping, and a lot of atrocities being committed from time to time, without government making proper end to those menaces, it will constitute inflation. Yes, sir.
There is a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You see it on the screen?
Yes, I'm with you, sir.
Yeah, there is a question for you on the screen. There is a question for you on the screen from one of your peers. What has been the major cause of inflation in Nigeria economy? Secondly, can we consider corruption as one of the factors that cause inflation in a country? This question is from Alexandra.
Okay, I will start from the second question. Corruption is one of the major causes of inflation in Nigeria, in the sense that more than 85 to 90% of Nigerian system, when it comes to governance, is full of corruption. In short, I think it is safe to say that Nigerian government, as of today, is corrupt. So corruption in so many areas. We have corruption in the educational sector. We have corruption in the finance sector. We have corruption in the agricultural sector. We have corruption in almost all the sectors. No place is safe when it comes to corruption. For instance, you can imagine, how can someone keep huge amount of money in a place not being circulated in the hand of public? Money hijacked from the masses through inflated prices of transportation are being kept by the so-called politicians, not even in the bank now. Because if the money is in the bank, there will be enough money to lend people for business, like small-scale business enterprises. Are you getting my point, sir? So, in the case whereby money is being kept somewhere and it does not flow, it's one of the examples of corruption we have. In short, I love the recent development by the central bank governor Emefiele, the Central Bank of Nigeria. He had to change the currency, some currency denominations in Nigeria now, which include 1,000 naira, 500 naira, and 200 naira, and give them the time lag between this month, December, and the end of the 1st of January 2023. That all old currencies from 1,000 naira. Then the second question, let me get the second question again, sir.
Okay. The second question here is, hold on 1 minute.
Yes, sir.
The second question is, secondly, can we consider corruption as one of the factors that cause inflation in the country?
Yes, I've just explained that already. So corruption can be in any form, as I've said earlier on. Corruption is one of the major causes of inflation in Nigeria. In the case whereby money is being given to a local government chairman, for instance, to develop a particular area, and such money is being siphoned or being embezzled. In that case, if such money has been used for the purpose by which it has been given, it will limit at least the cost of transportation. Because some transporters, for instance, they give excuses that the road is bad and the cost of repairing their motorcycles or whatever is on the high side. So I can say categorically that corruption is one of the major problems. In short, is a key factor when it comes to inflation in Nigeria.
Okay, look on the screen. Look on the screen.
Yes. Okay.
This is Guinean president.
Okay, sir.
The army guy you see is the president, the current president of Guinea, who
yes, sir.
Overthrew the sitting president. And the little guy you see here is called Grampy from Guinea.
Yes, sir.
Now yes, he's the current cultural ambassador. He's an artist. Now, when President Colonel Mamadou took over Guinea, he said he's going to transform Guinea to a system that the people will benefit from their own resources. Since then, one of the things he did was to give this little guy you see, Grampy, because he's an icon in Guinea, he made him a cultural ambassador. Looking at Grampy's size, what will you say to Mamadi when it comes to corruption?
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. For such fellow to tackle corruption, he can use his office to do that by ensuring that illegal money ill-gotten money should be reported to the right place. And from time to time, there should be recommendation of reduction of offices, duplication of government offices. Because some of the reasons why we have inflation in Nigeria or inflation in the country you have mentioned so far is that when we have too many duplicated offices of the government, some of them create those offices just to siphon money from the public funds. So I would advise that there should be reduction in what public offices, and there should be severe punishment on anyone that embezzle public funds or money assigned for a particular purpose.
Okay.
If such money has been misappropriated, there should be severe punishment for that.
Okay.
So when such occur constantly, it should minimize.
Some of the punishment you're thinking that should be levied against people should be like overthrowing a government, like what Mamadi did.
No, not really. There can be other forms of doing that. There's a way we can hijack the account of such fellow through the central bank of the country. So by freezing the account is one of them. Publishes the name of such person on the daily news. And also, if possible, if the constitution is working fine, such person should be jailed for a particular period of time, so that they will serve as deterrent to others. Because if the severity of punishment on corruption is very minimized, it will encourage others to be more corrupt.
All right, another question. What could be done to curtail inflation? This question comes from Julius.
What can be done to curtail inflation is that a country should be a producing country. Such country should ensure that most of the things being imported from other countries, the country should make sure it is being provided for in the country. The government can also employ some policies. One of them is we have monetary policy, we have fiscal policy. Our monetary policy has to do with controlling the supply of money in circulation. So if there's excess money in circulation over goods and services in such economy, there will be inflation. So, and the fiscal policy has to do with government spending and income. So the fiscal policy now, we have what we call contractionary fiscal policy and expansionary fiscal policy. So in this case now, to minimize inflation rates, there should be what we call contractionary fiscal policy by imposing high tax on income. Government of the country should employ what we call progressive tax system. So the higher your tax, the higher the amount of tax, the higher the amount of income rather. The higher the amount of tax that should be paid on such an income.
We're going to pause here a little bit and do a little bit of promotion on here, and then we'll come back to you. Just stay tight.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Just a press. I have a big surprise in studio right now. The CEO himself, Tuazama himself, is in studio. If you don't know now, you know. This is Real Music Studio, right here in the state of Delaware. Presenting to you Today is Thesis Statement Day. Students around the world at the Tuazama Leadership School, based in the United States, to be specific, Pennsylvania State, are giving us insights on what they are learning. And it was a big surprise for you guys today. The chief himself, Honorable Tuazama, appeared in studio today live. Honorable Tuazama, you are welcome in studio, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ray Papa. It's an honor to be
here. And we were in the middle of presenting studio and hearing from one of the students at your school. This student is based in Nigeria, and his thesis statement is focusing on inflation. I have dealt with, I think he's the 9th students that gave you insights on what he's been doing at your school. We want you to give us a breakdown on information about you, because a lot of people don't know who you are, information about the school, and then later on we'll get back to the students. We want you to hold tight. We'll get back to him and continue with his thesis presentation. But first, let's get to you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, Ria Papa, when I opened this school, I opened this school with you in mind and with all the wonderful professors from around the world in mind. You know, it takes collective efforts to change our generation. It takes collective effort to make a difference in the life of people around the world. So you have these incredible lecturers, incredible professor, all these wonderful people, and you have people like you who are giving your time to ensure that the next generation of leaders are prepared to the fullest. And my name is Owen Johnson Tuazama. I am a philanthropist, a writer, and to know more about me is to research the people who we have helped to develop. Because cardinal to everything is that these people we are helping, we want them to be better leaders in their various countries, in their communities, in their little organizations, and even in their businesses. We also teach them what it means to be humble. And that's why we ask them to call each other leaders. Now think about this, Ria Papa. Imagine one of your colleagues got you angry and you are in a chat room or you are in a live class and they got you angry. You have to address them, but you have to address them as leader.
Yes.
That is the spirit of humility. So instead of saying, hey, you say, leader Samuel Alade, excuse me, you did something I didn't like. You disrespected me. But the fact is, when you call him leader Samuel Alade, anything coming after that will be done with respect and emotional control. That's what this is about. And thank you so much, Ria.
Thank you so much. As you have heard from the preparator himself, of the Tuazama Leadership School that surprised us today in studio while we are in the middle of thesis presentation is nothing I can take for granted. But not to do too much, I will just take one more music on here. And then we'll dive directly into the thesis presentation. Mr. Aladi.
Yes, sir.
Let's get back to you.
Yes, sir.
So we were almost at the ending of your thesis presentation, and the question that came on from one of your peers said, "What could be done to curtail inflation?" And you answered that question. Now, let's take you to be President-elect Nigeria, 2023.
Yes, sir.
And your thesis is focusing on inflation. And from my idea of inflation and going through your thesis last night, I got to understand a lot of different things. Nigeria is not one of those countries that is in mass production of its own homegrown food, like rice, cassava, potato, beans, corn, etc.
Yes.
Nigeria depends on importation of soybeans and other food that is consumed in the country. What will you do differently with that rich land?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
If you are
the policy, how to control the inflation in the country. I have so many things I can do to do that. As an economist, I'm going to make use of effective use of monetary policy, just as I've said earlier on. Monetary policy has to do with controlling the circulation of money in the economy. There must not be excess of money supply in the economy. So if there's excess of money supply in the economy, it will cause disaster, because we will have high quantity of money purchasing few items. So another thing I also do is effective use of fiscal policy. And the fiscal policy has to do with the principles that guide the spending and how government generates its income. So through the use of taxation and what we call debts. So there should be a reduction in debts. And if at all there's going to be there will be any external loan, it should be used for infrastructure or to develop the youth in the economy. So another one again is political stability. When there's political stability in any economy, it will not scare away the foreigners to invest in the country. So if there's political stability, there's no war or there's no social unrest in any part of the country, people can come to invest in such a country. Another one again is moderating the interest rates. Moderating interest rates. The interest rate being deposited by the commercial banks to the central bank. Because if we moderate the interest rate properly, there will not be excess money with commercial banks to give to those who cannot pay. So if you moderate the interest rates, we can practice contractionary and an expansionary, either monetary policy or fiscal policy in that area. Then another thing I will also do is increase source of local inputs. So there are some things we import from other countries to produce here in Nigeria, and those things must stop. You can imagine our crude oil, to produce crude oil in Nigeria or to refine our crude oil in order to get petroleum products. we have to take it outside the country. And by the so-called politicians, they have refinery outside the country. They will still import it back to Nigeria. So that has been the basis of inflation in Nigeria. So that must stop as well. Another thing I will also do is physical measures such as wage and price control rationing of source of our commodities, and as well as imposition of wage freeze.
Okay, stop.
Yes, yes, sir.
Now, I will take you not to be the president of Nigeria. I will take you to be a common man, and I'm instructing you right now to go in Nigeria, 4 corners of Nigeria, and start working to curtail inflation. What will you do differently?
Yes, thank you, sir. What I will do differently is what we call mass orientation, because there's what we call software in computer engineering. And when we talk about software has to do with what we install in the system is what there's what we call garbage in, garbage out. So somebody with the wrong mindset, because as I speak with you now, those I want to steal in government offices, they are more than those that are there already. So if you can, so there's a need to reorientate people on how to contribute to the society, how we can utilize the resources we have, how we can be self-dependent, how we can use our talent to produce some of the things we import out of the country.
Now, listen.
Especially, yes, sir.
Nigeria just did some combination with their currency, right? Nigeria changed the color of their money.
Yes,
am I
yes.
Right? Okay,
yes, sir.
There's a question for you on the screen right now. Leader Aladi.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Does changing banknote color help to tackle inflation? This question
to a very large extent, it curtailed inflation. And this is how it curtailed inflation, because we have some politicians now. In short, I love what the CBN governor did.
Read the question.
The man was so strategic in his action. Hello, sir. Yes, sir.
Asking you, does changing the color of a banknote, changing the color, you bring in color.
Yes.
They're asking you about color, not color. Specifically, does
color, yes.
Inflation?
Yes. It curtailed inflation, yes.
Well,
it's curtailed inflation.
The color, changing the color doesn't help to tackle inflation. The color.
In Nigeria context, let me explain that. Changing the color in this context of Nigeria will reduce inflation in the sense that there is a time limit by which all existing notes must last with individual. So if central bank governor did not change the color of such currency and give a time limit,
changing the money in circulation, changing it is different from changing color. So the average person that's asking is asking specifically about color.
Okay, if changing the color alone without any other thing attached to it does not reduce inflation.
Thank you. So this way, if the person asks more questions, then they can ask more questions about infusion of new money into the economy.
Yes, sir.
But they said color. So since they said color, because people are listening to us around the world, we have to give them the right answer. Changing color.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. They don't do anything. Now,
changing the color does not reduce inflation if other factors are not attached to it.
Okay, now we have done everything we have to do with you, and
you did a great job.
Miss Leader Alade, thank you so much, and we have to let you go now. And you have done extremely well.
Thank you very much, sir. It's an honor, sir. Thanks to my CEO. God bless you, sir, for the privilege, sir.
So you see, she's on, but she's not active.
I can call her. I need to feel.
Call her.
Who acted? Richard. Abdullah Noise acted. See Abdullah Noise? You see Richard? You see Richard? Richard? Is Richard there or Abdullah Noise? You see Richard? Yeah, Richard, wait. Yeah, Richard, right here. Wait, yeah. Oh, she got it already. Look. Essie, man. Essie. Hold on. Okay, we can see you now. Okay, that's the one. No, come this way. You see, Essie, the reason they didn't pick you because you were using two different lines. One of the lines is not active. 1 or 3. Yeah, for here we see 2. No,
let me kick this one off. Use space.
Okay, so just stay right there and come in. But here it shows 2.
After this one, it's not still active.
Come down.
Let me kick that one off. Then there will be more space for her. Where is she?
Come down. Right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening. Good evening.
If you are just tuning
Good evening, CEO.
If you are just tuning in, this is Real Music Studio right here in Delaware State, United States of America. Presenting to you today, students at the Tuazama Leadership School. And right now, is student Essie. Let's hear from student Essie. Introduce yourself and which country you and your thesis.
So it's late here in Nigeria, so I'll say good evening. My name is Essie, a student of Tuazama Leadership School, specializing in human resource management. And I am privileged to be a premium asset leader in the school. So today, my thesis is all based on human resource management in organization. Why did I pick that particular topic? I know human resource is an important part of any organization, and that is the main reason I picked that topic. Businesses and organizations depend on 3 important resources, which is the physical resources, like materials and equipment, financial resources, like cash, credit, and debt, and people. But we cannot overemphasize the importance of people in an organization of business as a resource. The human resource function of an organization define the success of that organization. And the HR in any organization plays a major role in the growth of its bottom line and the success of its business strategy. So the very art of a business is the people, and giving direction to the people is what human resource management is all about. So what is human resource management? According to the Harvard model of the human resource management created by Michael Bear, human resource management is a strategic approach to the employment, development, and well-being of the people working in an organization. Human resource management takes care of decisions and actions that affect the relationship between the company and the employees, and in short, that is human resource management. And human resource management is all is the management of all decisions within an organization related to people. That is why they call human resource management the bridge between the management and the employee. Because if there's no human resource management in any organization, that organization definitely will crumble. Because majority of the problem in any organization is more human than financial or mechanical or equipment wise. So if you can manage the human aspects of an organization, you will definitely succeed as an organization. So human resources functions in so many ways in an organization. So we have the managerial, the operative, and the advisory. For under the managerial, there's planning, there's organizing, there's directing and controlling. So as a human resource personnel or a manager, you should be able to plan function, and you should be able to ensure the best fit between employees and jobs. What do I mean? When I first got my job, there was no human resource department in that organization. I went directly to the managing director of that organization before I got my job. So they just fixed me anyway. I read hotel and catering management, and I became a diction teacher. So there is no correspondence between me being an hotel and catering, reading hotel and catering management, and being a diction teacher, but I had to adopt. So it was like 3 years later that particular department became functioning in my organization. And when it started, it was wobbly a bit, but when they got their footing, they were able to place people where they fit, which is making the organization succeed today. So human resource management cannot be overemphasized because it's an important part of any organization. It cushions the problem between the management and the employee. It is the human resource manager that will help the management to see how well they can compensate their employees. It's the human resource manager that will bring about plan that would help the employees, bring about training, bring about development for the employee that will in turn make the organization grow as a whole. So in conclusion, human resource management is the art. I would say the blood, the art, the main function of any organization. And it is as important as any other, is the most important aspect of any organization, I must say. That's why I would say that without the human resource in a company, that company cannot perform well and cannot be successful. It's the human resource that will create the brand for that organization that can be known and respected. So in short, human resource management is the heart and soul of any organization. Thank you.
So, like, at times when student present their thesis, I'm like baffled, I'm like confused. But each time people like you present thesis, you drive me into sleep. You drive me into sleeping. And when I come back from sleeping, I have no question for you because your thesis is written by you. You explain everything. What question we ask you?
I
So
didn't
you
hear
understand,
that, sir.
you understand what I'm trying to say?
I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you.
I don't think we will
I
continue
didn't hear
asking
what you said now.
I don't think we'll continue asking you questions because it's coming to hear.
I had a very good teacher, and he's sitting beside you there. Is the inspiration behind this?
So you have question for your student?
Thank you, Leader ST. Can you hear me clearer? Leader ST, can you hear me clear?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So now you are among the few in the history of the Tuazama Leadership School to enter level 5. And my question for you is what drives you? What's your motivation? You put in, you tackle everything, and you find yourself today in level 5. You are among the first few 10 people to ever enter that level in the school. And when you enter that level, that means you have achieved a lot in the school. What's your drive? What's your motivation?
Well, sir, I don't believe in doing something and stopping. I believe in putting my own self in whatever I want to do. And that is what affects me in my job too. I believe when you are doing something, don't do it halfway. Get to the logical conclusion of that particular thing you're doing. So when you're done with that, you can move to another thing. I wanted to come to school and I believe that stopping halfway is not the answer to it. So I have to come to the end of why I came to Tuazama. And that's what has been my push.
And you are one step away from your master certificate,
Yes.
which is you will be in level 7 because there's no level 6 in the school. And you will be
Yes.
done with the school. My question is, what are you going to do with all this knowledge you have acquired?
Well, sir, that's why Tuazama is there. I'll be there to impact the knowledge I gained from Tuazama back to the students there.
I love that. So basically, you will be here to teach other
Yes.
students, new students, young students that are coming. I'm proud of
Yes,
you.
sir.
You are a true product of this school. And congratulations. God bless you always.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Hold on. All my pretty lady hands in the air. Gonna find you a gentleman, don't be looking lonely. All my real nigga hands in the air. Gonna find you a shawty, that's what makes it a party. All my pretty lady hands in the air. Gonna find you a gentleman, don't be looking.
Under the voice right now, it's Real Papa.
Gonna find you a shawty, that's what
And in studio, we have a high profile guest, the Honorable himself,
trying to make a way, really can't fake the stressing.
Leader Owin Tuazama,
Shawty blocking up dancing,
and music playing
through the back street, speed like a truck.
is from Starboard Jr.,
Man, I
the Squad Party. And if you don't know, you know. Starboard Jr. is currently in Liberia promoting,
dreams and I don't fit.
working with other artists in Monrovia, Liberia.
They weave, so depending on me, Lord knows they need it. Trying to put some ice on my lips till it's freezing. Granny died, I swear.
Starboard Jr. is US based Liberian artist.
They know ain't no meaty drop, they know I'm gon' spit that heat. Why my nigga EBK been getting the unreleased? I got bars out the factory. Any nigga plan on coming up after me, running shit like a faculty. I grew up in war, don't live hill, want to battle me. Don't work 9 to 5.
Are you there, leader Aladi?
Yes, sir.
Abdullah?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
This is Real Music Studio, and you are a student of the Tuazama Leadership School, and today is Thesis Defense Day. Your thesis have been sent to us for review, and now you have the opportunity to get us deep down into the reason why you wrote this thesis. Introduce yourself, your name, country you are coming from, or you are in currently, and just know that there are millions of people watching, and they're going to watch this video after your thesis defense in years to come. So do everything in the right way, and then let's go.
Okay, my name is Abdullah M. Noor. I am a Liberian, and I'm currently in Egypt, Cairo, Arab Republic of Egypt. I'm a student at the Tuazama Leadership School, level 3. Before I begin, let me say a big thank you to our CEO, Mr. Tuazama, and a big thank you to BM Music Studio, and a big thank you to you as well, Real Papa. This is an opportunity, as a privilege that I'm going to live forever. I'm not going to forget about this. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now, I'm going to be presenting to you today on the topic here is education. You know, I have presented on this topic before when I was in grade school. That was back in Liberia. And from that moment of war, I just feel impressed always, anytime. I just like to give this topic out to people. Wherever I go, whenever I need to say something, I like to speak on education. Looking at where I'm from, looking at our background, looking at the society in Liberia, and looking at the world at large. So I love to present on this topic. So I'm going to be discussing today on education. I have like 14 pages thesis statements here with this document. Because of time factors, I'm just going to be brief and just give you a summary to allow other people to come in with their own thesis statements. Now, when we hear education, we think on the general basis. It's a broad thing, open, wide. There's many definitions, everyone's, and it's not limited to one definition. Like everyone have their own definition based upon their view, how they look at it to be. So I'll give you a few definitions, which is not just limited to my definition. Like I said, there are a few definitions and many definitions. Now, education is a purposeful activity directed at achieving certain aim, such as transmitting knowledge or forecasting skill and character traits. This aim may include the development of understanding, rationality, kindness, and honesty. Like today, educational goal increasingly empowers laws, ideas such as the liberation of learners, skill needed for modern society, empathy, and complex vocational skills. Also, education is designed to guide people in learning a culture, molding their behavior in the way of adulthood and directing them towards their eventual role in society. Education is an enlightening exercise. Now we see in the world, everywhere we see there are a lot of infrastructures, we see new ideas, scientists are discovering every day. All of these things happen because of the new education, the new thing people are learning. Like if you compare this our century to before, you will know that yes, indeed, people are really learning and the world is advancing gradually and things are changing. That is only happening because of the education people are having nowadays. Having said that, there are a few types of education. People learn education. There are a few types, and I'll give you 3 types of education. Like I said previously, I'm just going to summarize these 14 pages. Okay, to begin with, one of the type of education is formal education. Formal education, as a rules, it happens in the premises of schools, where an individual may learn fundamental scholastic or exchange behavior like it's typically a school or college which may concern a scholar degree. It pertains to a particular level and is associated with specific systems of rules and procedures. And a good example of formal education is the Tuazama leadership schools. There are rules, there are procedures. You don't just do things in the Tuazama leadership school like you want to. And we have a very strong rules that you don't just go against these rules. So for formal education, Tuazama leadership school is a very good example of this. It also has an advantages and disadvantages. Some of the advantage is that student proceed information from trained and efficient instructors, structures, and orderly learning measures. Like for some of the disadvantages, we say I feel 2 disadvantages on this one. The chance of unfortunate propensity appropriation may be disturbing because of the presence of both great and terrible students in the same classroom. When you have some bad students, you have good students, there will always be that disadvantage for the good ones. Okay, having said that, I'll give you another example of education is the informal education. Informal education means that a person does not study in school and do not follow any particular learning methods in educational setup. This type of education does not involve any conscious efforts. It is neither pre-planned nor deliberately exhaustive. It may be learned at some marketplace, hotel, or schools, or homes. Unlike formal education, informal education is not imparted by an institution such as school or college. Informal education is not bound to be fixed timetable in any educational systems. There is no set of curriculum required. Informal education consists of experience and living in family or communities. Okay. It also has advantages and disadvantages. Some of the advantages of informal education are more normally learning measures as you can learn at any place and wherever for your everyday experience. It includes exercises like an individual and individual exploration on the subjects or interests for themselves by using books, libraries, online, media, webs, or getting help from casuals, friends, coaches, anyhow. No extents, no exact times, utilize and accessories or procedures. And some disadvantages is what lack of trust in students, the absence of order, minor and great propensity, no appropriation, no timetable, interval of time, utilized method may not be proper. These are disadvantages of informal education. And I'll give you the last example of education in non-formal education. Non-formal education, or non-formal training, incorporate group of fundamental education, grow up proficiency, training, or school equivalence, readiness. In non-formal education or non-formal training, someone who is in school can learn education, other essential aptitudes or occupational abilities. Home education, individual guide themselves to distant learning, a PC help guide, and different perspectives. And the advantage of non-formal education, practice and professional trainings, naturally developing personality that doesn't trust that the framework will add light, knowledge with the ability of development, which self-learning is value. Not to go a long way, I give you this disadvantage of non-formal education. Attainance of memory is family. Basic pursuing and composing ability are vital to learning. No proficient and trained instructors. Okay, now I will give you some importance of education. Most of us have grown up being taught that the importance of education, taught some of the importance of education. But why is education most important? Why? Why do we have to learn? Though our future in schools years, you may have thought that it was a waste of time or was something that you should have done. Maybe you should have just go to school, you may be able to get a job. But two in two, however, education go much beyond just getting a job and making your parents happy. In fact, it is one of the most important tools out there. There are few reasons, few importance of education. I'll give you 10 importance of education because I know with this one, it will help out there and enlighten most of the youth so that they will take education seriously. So to begin with, one of the important of education.
Leader, I do that.
Yes, sir.
Quick question for you. Question for you.
Yes, sir.
Did you write this thesis yourself?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you wrote this thesis yourself, where and how?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What are your research strategies to write a thesis? Can you give a research strategy on your thesis?
Like, I have a book here that I read, and every time when I read through this book, I go through some points and I jot down some points. Like, if I jot down some points and I don't understand this point, I may ask someone and get some information from outside, compare those information, read extensively, get more information, compare them, and that's how I was able to come out with this thesis.
Okay, another question. If can a baby be educated from birth?
I'm not getting you, sir.
Can a child be educated from birth? Can
from
anyone
birth?
be educated from birth? Can anyone be educated from birth?
Like, I don't understand what you mean. Can a child be educated?
Can anyone?
If
because I'm finding hard to understand your model at which you are coming. So you dive with informal and formal education in your thesis. Now my question is, can anyone be educated from birth?
Oh, that's a yes and no questions, because if you are born, you have to go through process of learning. Like your parents have to teach you before you get to your right from your wrong.
How do you
You not just be born and exactly know your right from your wrong.
How do you call that model of education?
Is it informal?
Thank you. Your thesis is okay. I was just trying to see if you the one wrote that thesis. If you were not to answer that question,
I did.
Then I'm going to give you 0 for that thesis. Thank you so much. Nothing else I can say. If leader, you have something to say to your student, you are most welcome.
No, I want to thank him for his presentation. Thank you so much, Leader Norn.
Thank you so much.
Okay, sir.
His presentation, I wasn't too happy, man. I wasn't too happy with that presentation. Yeah, I was understanding. Yeah. I mean, I think all of them are be strong. Yeah. He's about to be strong, so you just forward to this. And you got to bring back in doing this thing. You got to come out with something that is that you appreciate. You know, so I have anything. Yeah, like you just said, so that anybody that's looking at it. That's exactly what happened. So, this is what I think. So then the CEO is asking that. You see, I don't need something attractive. That's what CEO is saying right now. That those two facts.
This is Real Music Studio right here in Delaware State, United States of America. The Tuazama Leadership School students presenting thesis. And the preparator himself is in studio. But listen to me. Your thesis has to be true. The topic you choose has to be something that is different. It should be able to transform. It should be able to educate, inspire, give a broad idea and reasons you are part of this school. We don't want you to be questioned. Just know, in your absence, people go to judge you based on what you are presenting. Come very strong. Few minutes from now, we'll be introducing a brand new superstar at the Tuazama Leadership School. A leader. Richie. Leader Richie is in studio. But we cannot allow him to talk because we are still promoting him. From here, if you don't call Leader Richie leader, I will be asking you questions. Richard, you are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. See you. Am I live?
You are live.
Okay. I'm Leader Richard S. Quaida from level 3-4. I'm a student from Liberia. I will be presenting to you on the effectiveness of strategic planning in the petroleum sector of Liberia, with a case study on the National Oil Company of Liberia from 2020 to 2022. My research got 5 parts, but for this presentation, I will focus on chapter 1, 4, and 5. I will not dive into the literature review. So let me just do a brief introduction. So strategic leadership has emerged as the most significant and widely used leadership approach and is seen as moving leadership away from the internal dynamics of an organization and its strategic alignment. The current intensity of competition in contemporary markets needs with the views of obtaining competitive gain has been central for organization change for modern businesses and organizations. Firms have struggled to scrap leads. They are pushed out of business by increased operation costs and rival in the market, according to Dunban and Abada 2015. Business environment keeps on changing, increasing the responsibility and accountability in order to satisfy their clients. With the free entry to the market, infant firms continue to reduce the market share of existing firms and subsequently forcing organizations to frequently review their plans and strategy of operation. These reviews and changes call for a strong strategic leadership of speed and action that will see immediate results being delivered. Since traditional leadership approach are not enough to serve the rapid change in the knowledgeable and hard economy, strategic leadership is said to be multifunctional ability that allows management of organization process which require leader to ensure the organization change and continuous evaluation. So I will take you to the statement of the problem. Organization changes bring about both challenges and opportunities. To manage these challenges, therefore, strategic leadership is required to manage organization change if necessary. Strategic leadership fosters change while creating an environment where change is the norm and standardize the organization to ensure change as well as implement its policies. This leadership brings on the table skills that could help competitively respond to the industrial force, anticipate and exploiting shift in the market force. Even though there have been several research done, but none have been able to discuss the effectiveness of strategic planning in the petroleum sector of Liberia. Therefore, the study seeks to address the effectiveness of strategic planning in the procurement, in the strategic planning. The study seeks to address the challenges in strategic planning in the petroleum sector of Liberia. The objective of the study is to determine the influence of strategic direction organization change in the petroleum industry in Liberia, to find out the influence on strategic forecasting and planning on organization change in the petroleum industry of Liberia. It is also intended to examine the influence on human capital development on organization change in the petroleum industry in Liberia. The significance of the study is the study stands to benefit the petroleum industry stakeholders, and the findings of the studies will be used for upcoming research, academic purposes, and decision making for strategic purposes. A limitation of the studies. The study is limited to, or the research was limited to the National Oil Company of Liberia, NUCA, and specifically in Monrovia, Liberia. And the researcher has some level of financial constraint, logistical constraint in getting the research done and getting responses from individuals. So I take you to some major findings which has to do with chapter 4. The research used a field data collection, and there were questionnaire posed to respondents. And during the research, it was established that we have 50 males, 30 females constituting 50 male constituting 62.5% of the respondents, and we had 30 males, constituting 37.5%, which is total to 100% of the respondents gender. Then we go to the age range of respondents. We have 15 respondents between the age of 18 to 25, which constitute 25%. And we have the age range, 20 respondents between the age of 25 to 30, which constitute 29%. And we have the 15 respondents with the age range of 36 to 44%, which constitute 26%. And we have 45 years and above, which was 30 respondents that fall in that age range and constitute 37%. Therefore, for the 45 years and above were in majority of the respondents who responded to the research. When it comes to marital status of the respondent, we had 20 respondents who were single, and we had 60 married, amounting to 80 respondents. The academic qualification of respondents, we have 15 respondents with secondary certificate, which constitute 18.7%. We have 20 respondents with post-secondary certificate, which constitute 25%. And we have 15 respondents with post-secondary diploma, which constitute 18.7%. And we have 20 respondents with university graduate, which constitute 25%. We have 10 respondents with 12.5, with master's degree. Oh, word. Am I live? Hello? Am I live? Hello?
Right now, we'll be taking on another student. Leader Harris Bucket.
Okay. All right.
Leader Bucket, you are welcome, sir.
Let me say good.
Just my soul. Nice one. Okay, you just attack it. Just
We were having difficulties with leader Harris, but now we are moving on to leader Joseph. If you're just tuning in, this is Real Music Studio. Leaders Deconti. Leaders Deconti, are you there?
Yes, I'm present.
Introduce yourself and give us insight into your thesis.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello.
We are listening. Good evening.
Well, I'm student.
Introduce yourself and give us insights into your thesis.
Hello.
We are listening.
Yeah, I'm student. Yakuti actually introduced student of the Tuazama Leadership School, Level 3, and I'll be discussing a thesis topic and analytical studies on women in leadership, the role of inspiring African women leaders. And I'll go directly to my abstract. This paper seeks to analyze the various contributions of these African women in positions of global authority and the part that they play in influencing fellow women across the globe. This paper adapts a library instrument of research from documented materials such as books, journals, periodic, and reports. Findings shows that across the world, women make up about half of population, yet they never come close to holding 50% of the position of power in any government. The paper includes without a doubt that women in Africa have risen to various positions of power in leading both within the private and public sector. I move on to my introduction. African women have made considerable gains in the political, economic, and social development of the continent, but despite their efforts, they are still widely marginalized within the corridor of power. It is an undisputed fact that women are primary caregivers all over the world, but it is more so in Africa, which is considered the mother continent. The modern concept of mother Africa is the cradle of humanity is imbued on its women folk demanding greater efforts. These prejudices and beliefs and habits have made it virtually impossible for women to hold leadership positions in Africa, but a few women have chosen to defy these odds, making a name for themselves. And this paper will basically be talking about the first female president, Madam Ellen Sirleaf Johnson, and South Africa's Dr. Kosama Dlamini Zuma, who was the AU commissioner from South Africa. I come down to my literature review. Getting into and staying in position of power is typically difficult for African women, especially because of the roles traditional expected of her. In the writings of Rachel 2005, African woman is first and foremost seen to be a wife, then a mother, and as such, she is often required to constantly fulfill the unending responsibilities of these fundamental duties. Those that are fortunate enough to attain a position of influence get bogged down by the incessant need to attend to the home front, while their male counterparts who view them as out of place carry on with business of leadership, which they arrogate as their rightful prerogative. In the argument of Solich in 1997, among well-known African women in Asian history are the queen mothers of the Ashanti and the Korobo, through whom the African race in Ghana trace their descendants. Another research show from 1997 to, from 1996 to 1997, a public servant by the name of Ruth Terry, who served as the chairman of the Liberian Council of State. She was the first female head of the African state in 1994. Achievement of these women. If women were going to make significant headway on economic and other fronts, they realized they needed to have physical presence in legislature and other political institutions. According to Gessler in 2004, Dr. Liwanki started the National Political Party in Zambia in 1991. Margaret Dongo became the Zimbabwean Union of Democrats in 1999, while in Lesotho, Naksati formed the party Kopangan Basotho. Likewise, in 1990, Charity Gilu and Dr. Wangari headed parties in Kenya. Then I come down to the theoretical framework. The theory of critical feminist leadership is being adopted in the research paper, which symbolizes the challenges women face in breaking barriers of leadership. According to Watson in 2016, winning women's equal access to jobs was a major accomplishment of the women's movement of the 1970s. It changed the role of women in public spaces. Yet women's inability to break the glass ceiling and walls remain puzzling and troubling phenomenon. I come to the finding and discussion. In spite of the efforts by women leaders and women organizations in many African countries, women have yet to see enormous payoff in terms of elected officials and political appointments. Women often lack the resources, political experience, education, political connections to run office. Popular perception often suggests that women's proper place is still in whom other than public spaces. Then I come to the discussion of the two women I highlighted. Dr. Zuma is an undisputable trailblazer with an uplift and empowerment of women across the African continent. Her career as a struggle activist and a politician is testimony to her indestructible and courageous spirit. She was born on January 27, 1949 in Natal, a time when Black women career expectations did not go beyond domestic work. She, however, was not limited. She completed her high school studies training at Amazon Training College in 1967. Sorry. After a 4-year gap, she started her studies in zoology and botany at the University of Zeeland in 1971. She obtained her BSc degree and started her medical studies at the University of Natal, where her involvement with the struggle began. She became an active underground member of the ANC. She was also a member of the South African Student Organization and was elected as the deputy president in 1997. During the same time, she fled to exile, completing medical studies at the University of Bristol in the United Kingdom due to political reasons. In 1978, after the 1994 election, Dr. Zuma was appointed as Minister of Health in cabinet and then president during President Mandela's regime. During her tenure, she desegregated the health sector in a radical and transformed manner. Then I come down to Madam Sirleaf. Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who was born on October
If you are just listening and tuning in, we are presenting students' thesis at the Tuazama Leadership Institute.
Oh,
Here we are with our leader, Decon T,
yes.
who is presenting her thesis, and she threw deep into her thesis. And now it's question time. We are going to allow the school preparator himself to take on to Decon T with questions. 1 minute from now, you will be hearing from preparator Owen Tuazama himself, speaking directly to leader Decon T about women leadership in organization and businesses. Leader?
Thank you. Thank you, Leader Decon T. Can you hear me clear? Leader Decon T, can you hear me clearly? Leader Decon T, can you hear me clear?
Are you hearing us clearly, Leader Decon T?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me clearly?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Now, let me ask you, you spoke about women leadership, particularly if you were given the ability to be placed into a position of power as a woman and a graduate from this school. What will you do differently?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
All right. If you can hear me, then we should move on to the next person.
Right now, we are still here, still taking on students and their thesis. Leader Shira Ray. You are welcome, leader.
Thank you, sir.
Introduce yourself and take us into your thesis.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for the privilege. Thank you, CEO. My name is Ray Sarah Bisola, and I'm a student of Tuazama Leadership School with a concentration in project management, a level 3 fall student. Thank you very much. The topic of my thesis is risk management in project management. The concept is to understand how to, tackle risk in the project. And I like the topic because it also relates to our personal lives. And so in planning any project, there are things that should be considered. And one of it is the question of what if. What if is a question of risk awareness. You need to know, we need to understand why should or what should happen, what could happen as the process of the project continues, just as our lives is full of, calculated risks. We have series of risks, but then our decisions, we decide to do as what we decide to do has a margin of risk in it. And so every decision of our lives is based on it. It has a risk in it. So we must be decisive and understand why we should do what we are doing. And so no one is expected to fail. We don't expect to fail. Everybody wants to succeed. We don't expect to fail. But what is most important is that we are able to plan and plan ahead, so we won't be caught off guard when issues arise. And I may have one or more, questions or causes of we may have one or more causes that may arise while our project is being on. And anything that has let me go by defining a risk. Anything that has the potential or the tendency to affect the effectiveness, affect the schedule or the cost of a project is a risk. And so risk management ought to be incorporated in the process of our project. It doesn't have to we don't have to finish planning the project before we start to identify or we start to pick out the risks that may occur. It may be too expensive at that moment, but it should be in the start. It should be in the beginning of the process. It should be in the beginning of the project we start. So the severity of risks is lessened if we can recognize it early. The severity is lessened if we can recognize it early. And so the response of risks in our project can be positive and it can be negative. Why did I say so? Because in a positive risks will create an opportunity to either advance the project, and if it's negative risks, it's detrimental to the project. So we must be careful to differentiate it, because positive risks, you can exploit it in a way that that this is an opportunity that would advance the project of this organization. So we're able to exploit it. In that way, we employ tools and techniques, different tools and techniques that could be used to boost the project. And we can also share it if we discover that the organization does not have the required tools or the enough resources to further it, to boost it. It can be shared. It can be given out to some people who have expertise or who have that resources to enhance your project, and it can be shared and they can enhance it. But when it's negative, when it's a negative risk, we try to avoid it, and we also try to transfer it. That there are people who are skilled in, who have that skill in tackling negative risk. They are skilled in it, so they're able to you can transfer the project to them and they're able to work towards it and help you achieve that goal. And if it is beyond the organization's power, it is better to there's a way you can just mitigate it, so we can avoid any form of further problems. Okay, so there are processes in which we can manage risk, and some of it is to first identify risk identification. and in this you are able to eradicate the challenges in your risks. And there are also tools used in risk identification, and some of it are through interviews, through brainstorming, um, checklist, assumptions, analysis. Then we have the roots, have CA, root cause analysis. And when risk is identified, we are able to manage and
Lina,
yes,
listen,
yes.
I have a question for you.
Okay, sir.
Did you write this thesis yourself?
Yes, I did.
You sure?
Yes,
Because it
very
doesn't
sure.
appear like that.
Sir,
It doesn't appear like you wrote this thesis.
I did.
So can I ask you one question?
Yes, sir.
This is the scenario that happened some years back in America. A boy wanted to commit suicide, and he told his girlfriend, "I'm going to kill myself." And the girlfriend told him, "Let's go. I will help you to kill yourself." How do you differentiate the risk factors in somebody helping with their voice to kill themselves? What's the risk?
Can you rephrase, please? I don't get.
The story is a girl. The story is about a boy and a girl. This boy was traumatized, frustrated, and he wanted to kill himself. And he told his girlfriend, I'm about to kill myself, or I want to kill myself." And his girlfriend said, "You have suffered too long and too much. I will help you to kill yourself, for you to kill yourself." But the girlfriend did not in any way take any related tools or mortal weapon to ensure to give it to him for him to kill himself. But the boy ended up killing himself because the girlfriend said, "You have suffered too much." If that's a risk, where do you place that?
Okay. Okay. I think I would say it's a risk. It's a risk because if she didn't end up um helping him to kill himself, then it's a positive risk because it didn't turn out to be to happen. It didn't turn out to be the other side of it. It's a positive risk. I'm sure she did that because it's psychological. He may be thinking, yes, she's accepted to help him kill himself, but in a way, there is a way she's going to probably it's psychological. She just used psychology to calm him down. Let me use it that way. But I think it's a positive risk
So,
because
so the same thing is happening everywhere in countries like Nigeria, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and other places. Like I will jokingly say, "You can kill yourself." Is that a risk in a joking form? If something happening, or I will say, "I want to kill myself," and then somebody will come from the back and say, "But you can go kill yourself now." Is that a risk? In short,
I think it's a risk because the person can go ahead and just kill himself. Sometimes people say things like, I'll do this, I'll do that, but they just need that word. They don't have to hear what you don't have to tell them what they want to hear. Yes, so it's a risk because when you say that, when you say go ahead, they can actually go ahead. But when you come from the other side to probably encourage them or say something else that keeps them calm, they can think of your words and then they can ponder over it and it can change their mind. So
should
it's
risk
a risk.
be cost bearing?
Sir?
Should risk be cost bearing?
Cost bearing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Risk is expensive. Let me use it that way. Yes, because for instance, for a project, you you discover that the risk in it, if it's negative, it ends up in financial losses. That's one of the area where it affects. It ends up in financial losses.
Okay.
So,
So when risk become negative, should it be a crime?
sir?
If risk becomes negative, should it be considered
Yeah.
a crime?
Should it be considered a crime?
Yes.
A crime. I don't think so.
Okay. You have done too much and you have answered too many questions from me. Thank you so much. I just try to make you more of answering these questions. These questions are really hard questions. If risks go like cost bearing, it is a crime. Where somebody influence somebody to do something, it is a crime.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And I will be allowing you to take some questions from your preparator himself.
All right, sir.
Thank you, Leader Ray, for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
What was your topic?
Sir?
What was your topic? What was the theme, the topic of your paper?
Okay, it's risk management and project management.
Great. Did you submit your paper?
Yeah, I did.
Did you submit your paper? You submitted
I
your
did.
paper already?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So you were talking about risk management in project management. And how do you define risk management?
How do I define risk management?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say, in my own words, risk management is the ability to manage or to manage risk in order not to, cause a further or cause any imbalances in projects, because the aim of the
How do you manage risk? How do you manage?
Okay, like I said, it has the processes.
Yeah,
The
okay.
first thing we should do, the first thing we should do is actually to identify those risks.
Okay.
That's why I said it has to start from the process, like from the beginning of the project. We need to identify like what could happen if we start this project. What is the financial cost? What would it cost us? What are the risks in it? We must be able to identify, and then when we identify this risk, then we can briefly, assess them. Like, this is the first risk. We can assess it, like how high can this risk become? How low is it? We need to start prioritizing the risk in their different capacity, in the different way they turn out.
Give one example of a potential risk in project management. What could that be?
Okay. An example is
of a potential risk.
Okay. An example, for instance, is what if the budget of that project is not how do I put it? The budget is exceeded. I don't know if you get.
You are equating risk to budget in so what if the budget exceeded or something? You are equating risk to that?
No, I'm saying that, okay, one of the risks is that if we have a budget on ground for this project, one of the risks is that what if that this project or this budget is not able to meet up with the project we have? It's a negative risk.
Is that what your teacher taught you? your project management teacher? Is that what they taught you?
No, this is from the process of my research. I understood from it.
So if the budget is if the budget cannot complete the project, they told you that you should categorize that as a risk. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what
Thank you.
Leader Deconti, you have done extremely well.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. Joy is not active. Mohammed is not active. Joseph.
Hello?
Ready? Daddy.
No, they active. It's people not active. So if I keep them here, let me keep them alone. When they come back, they will be active. Leader Jackie T. Leader Travis, you are welcome, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Introduce yourself and where are you from?
Am I live?
Yes.
All right. My name is Leader Joseph J. Travis. I am a student of Tuazama Leadership School. I'm at level 4. I am a pastor. I'm managing a church of 60 congregation in Sierra Leone. All right. Hello? Hello? Am I live? Hello?
Can we get into your thesis now? You are live.
All right, thank you so much. Here to present on my thesis, the impact of training and development. Training and development. All right. Before we start to know more about training and development, I want to give a background about the word training and development. The historical background on training and development. Famous 5th century BC Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu once wrote, "If you tell me, I will listen. If you show me, I will see. But if you let me experience, I will learn." The idea of training and development is nothing new to the 21st century, but has rather evolved since the earlier stage of and has been gradually refined into a sophisticated process that it is today implemented through history, which is the apprenticeship, which is origin rooted in Hammurabi, the law that governed ancient Egypt. Apprenticeship were one of the first types of training practice that became widely used, especially during the Middle Age, as trade in the area of craftsmanship became more demanding. Most children of the knowledge and teach them the skill they needed to succeed in this line of work. As we continue to know the background of training and development, we may want to know what is training and development. The impact of training and development is in an organization is one of the most important functions of human resource management. The objective of this training is to enhance employees' skills, behavior, and expertise by putting them into learning and new techniques of doing work. What is training and development? It is defined as the system used by an organization to improve the skills and performance of the employees. It is an educational tool which consists of information and instruction to make existing skills sharp, introduce new concepts and knowledge to improve the employees' performance. Training and development in human resource management are two different activities which goes hand in hand for the overall betterment of the employee. All right. Then there are different schools of thought about training and development, which I may want us to discuss today. Michael Armstrong defined training and development. It is a systematic change of behavior through learning, which occurs as a result of education, instruction, development, and planned experience. And he defined development as the improving individual performance in their present roles and preparing them for greater responsibilities in the future. There's another person again by the name of Robert N. Lucia. Robert N. Lucia defined training as a process of acquiring the skill necessary to perform a job, and development is the ability to perform both present and future job. The next person we'll discuss today is Donna Kirkpatrick. Donna defined training. He said it refers to the teaching of specific knowledge, skills required on the individual's present job. The term development refers to the growth of the individual and preparation for higher level. We are looking at the importance of training and development when it comes to the employees, because training and development is pivotal. It is significant in every organization. For the organization to do well, they must invest in training and development. Let's look at some of the importance of training and development. Need and importance of training and development. One, increase in efficiency and productivity. I believe when you pour your resources as an organization in training and development, it will increase efficiency and productivity. Training brings about increase in quantity and quality of the goods produced, resulting in high productivity. All right, we continue to know another importance of training and development. It reduces supervision and direction, because if the employees are trained, if the employees have the requisite knowledge, honestly, there will be a less supervision on that employee because you have already trained them. It's increasing organizational stability and flexibility. Training improves opportunities for the employees to learn, and acquire skills to work in several departments. Because with training, employees can be in that capacity to learn different skills.
Leader Joseph.
Yes, sir.
Calm down.
Yes, sir.
Calm down. You're firing too hard. You're firing too hard.
It's okay.
Okay. Listen.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. You yourself wrote this thesis, right?
Yes, sir.
You were able to submit this thesis to your professors, right?
Yes.
Does the school have a copy of this thesis?
Yes, sir. I sent copy to CEO on his email.
Okay. Another question. Just in case we want to add this thesis to a book that we are writing, will you give approval?
Come again?
Just in case we want to add this thesis to a book that I'm writing, will you give me approval?
Yes, of course.
Okay, I will allow the school preparator to ask you some questions.
Well, thank you.
Approval.
Okay. Well, if anyone is listening there for Leader Joseph, thank you. That was good.
Yes. Thank you.
You started. I didn't like the way you started. It was just too weak. But in the middle and at the end, you did great. You explained it properly. So far, since I've been sitting in the studio, I'm not saying before I got to the studio, there were a lot of strong ones. But since I got here, so far, I would say, besides Leader Essie, yours will be probably next to Leader Essie or the third one, very, very strong. So I'm proud of you there. And you dress properly. You dress like a leader, and you did great. I like how you broke it down. One thing you said in your thesis, because leaders are people who solve problems. You said that when training and development are done, for employees at a job, there will be less supervision. And sometimes we don't even think about it like that. We teach people, we train people at our jobs to build their capacity, but we don't think about the aspect of less supervision. And the fact that you pointed out and with other important things within that paper, I gotta say that you did great. I saw you were tired. You were sleeping at one point when the camera came to you. But you could do that, and you were forceful. I like that. And it doesn't mean if people are not forceful, it doesn't mean anything. But I like when people are forceful too, because it makes people to listen. Even when they are tired, they tend to listen more.
Yes.
So thank you.
Ready?
I'll give you out and then you come back.
Daddy, daddy.
This one? If you are just tuning in, it has been a long day. From one student to another. And now we are here. Joseph Chudekuna, leader, present this thesis right here in Real Music Studio.
Are you able to get me from there?
Leader, we are wanting you to introduce yourself and tell us where you are from and give us insights to your thesis.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, Leo Papa, and thank you also to our school CEO, Mr. Tuazama, for this opportunity and for the job Ordan is doing for us, a student in Africa, precisely here in Zambia. By the way, here it is already 2023. We are already in 2023 here in Zambia.
Wow, thank you.
My name is Chilekwa Joseph, and I'm from Zambia, specifically Southern region. I'm a student of Tuazama Leadership School, and I'm doing I'm doing a concentration in human resource management, level 4 now. Level 4, yes. The topic of my research paper is all about how to introduce competence-based pay at a working place. Competence-based pay at a working place. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have questions. Why of all the topics would one pick on this one? The reason being simple, us as human resource managers, there is need for us to explore different areas of human resource itself for us to be so effective at our working place. A lot of people have adopted different type of a pay scheme, but when I was doing my research, I finally came to understand there is this other component which would be very working too in the human resource management, but why do people don't appreciate it? So I thought of going into it, find out why, and then introduce it to my fellow leaders, more especially whom I'm studying with at Tuazama Leadership, to see how best we can introduce competence-based pay at a working place. So a lot of people might ask questions. When was this thing introduced, the competence-based? It was introduced back in 1980s. Yes, it was introduced back in the 1980s in a country, USA. Yes, by the scholar Boyatis. That was in 1982. Boyatis defined competence as underlying characteristics of an individual which is casually related to effective and superior performance. Of course, when Boyatis from America came up with this definition, another scholar within Britain, but it was within an organization called National Vocational Qualification. Then when they looked at this same competence, it was a different, they looked at it from a different aspect. They said competence, according to them, was labor for the ability to perform. So it was a bit different from the way Boyatis introduced it in 1980s, compared to the way in UK government, the National Vocational Qualification defined the same. So now, what is this thing, competence-based pay? What is it all about? That's the most interesting question. Let's look at the definition itself so that we can follow it bit by bit, so that everyone will have a clear picture of what competence-based pay is all about and how they can introduce it in a company. And then from there, we also talk about the advantages and disadvantages of competence-based pay, so that even when my fellow leaders choose to adapt this pay scheme, it will help them to know what they're introducing in the company. What are the benefits and what are the disadvantages of introducing the same? So competence-based pay, it is the knowledge, skill, and attitude needed by any individual employee to carry out their job effectively. This can be comparated into a pay scheme to reward individual who positively contribute to the organization value. So when we look at this, just the definition itself, you'll find that competence-based pay, it involves two things. There is one. Yes, Leo Papa.
Okay. Now, question for you.
Yes, sir.
You yourself wrote this thesis, right?
Yes, sir.
Have you submitted this thesis to your professor?
Yes, I submitted one to the school website, one to our CEO, one to your studio, Leo Papa.
Thank you. Just in case this thesis is to be sent to somebody outside my studio, outside of the Tuazama Leadership School for review, will you accept?
That would be a very welcome move to me, because I'll be so proud of my work that people are now able to see what I'm doing.
Thank you. All right. I will allow you to take some questions from the school preparator himself.
Oh, thank you.
Leader Joseph, thank you. You are a great student, and you are among the few students who were able to enter level 5 in the school. And I'm glad that you are here to defend the work, your papers. Because if you had not come, you have been removed from level 5. And you are going to go back to level 4. You know, everything we do has to be done by the book. Now, so I heard you said something about competence-based salary. Is that correct?
Competence-based pay.
Yeah. Well, base
Yes.
pay. Okay. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Why are you advocating for this?
The reason why I'm advocating for the CEO is because the company stands to benefit from what the employee will provide.
You are a leader in your country. You've been trained by the school. You are now in level 5, one step away from getting master's certificate. Competence could be defined in many different ways. It's when you talk about this, it seems that you're looking out more for the company now, which is not bad. But then the average person, if it comes to competence-based pay, and maybe they are not performing on par with others, but you have to take something from them. That means they are losing something and they won't be able to pay their light bill. They won't be able to pay their phone bill. Have you thought about that part?
Thank you very much, CEO. When you look at competence-based pay, CEO, it's not exploiting workers. It's not about exploiting workers. It's about appreciating how the work is being done and not how the work is being delivered. So when an organization, or like I'll give an example. If I'm given for instance, a CEO has so many workers at Tuazama leadership. So for these workers who are there, they are entitled to salaries at the end of the day. That is delivery. Now we are looking at how the work is being done. So when you look at how the work is being done, you get to appreciate those individuals because they are doing the work according to what they were hired for, but they are doing extra mile to any value for the organization.
Little Joseph, you are one of the best in the school. Okay, you are among the few top 10 best in the school. Now, and what I want us to do for 2023 is I want us to have more debate to talk about things and find solutions, right? Now,
yes.
So this company, and we can't do everything here, but I need to call you for us to have more discussion. And I like every time he writes, he brings about critical issues. And this is good for the continent. This is good for institutions. And I love that. So why you didn't talk about, bonus? Why you didn't talk about, bonus, competent-based bonus? Because, so like in the United States of America, right? Some of the people that work for me, some of them make $20 an hour, some make 25, some make 30, some make 35, right? But that's based on the length of time they have been there. All right? Now,
yes.
So we come to the aspect of competence. So if we, last night when my workers worked, about 3 of the workers, they performed well. The other worker, he didn't really perform well, but he still got the same $35 an hour that the other people got. So if we bring, if we go to Africa, Zambia, for instance, if you want to do competence, that means someone like that worker who didn't perform to my satisfaction, he did work, perform to my satisfaction. What are we going to do? Are we going to slash him from $35 to $17.50, or what are we going to do?
Before you introduce introducing,
you are among the people that got one of the best TC because you gave me a reason to talk. That's what TC should be about. And for everyone paying attention who will be coming next month or following month to do this, don't just come here and be playing all around the place. We want people to come here and try to inject new ideas into the conversation, not just to come here and just talk. No, new ideas, something we can look at. Somebody else will try to experiment. It might not work, but that's fine. We're starting from somewhere because we're trying to find solution. Let's go ahead, Leader Joseph.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Reed Tuazama. First and foremost, before an organization can introduce competence-based pay, there is a framework. In that framework, the CEO of that company or the human resource manager need first to orient managers of that same organization so that they are very familiar of what they're about to bring to the organization. If CEO, Mr. Tuazama, wants to introduce competence-based pay, He will first sit down with his workers, tell them that is the framework. What is it all about? How are the people going to benefit? How will one reach that level? Once people are familiar with what you want to introduce, then definitely they're going to achieve that. But if you don't tell them what it's all about, you are misleading them and they'll feel like they're being exploited. So it's all about the framework. It is based on agreed framework of competences. You have to describe what the package is all about so that you will stand to benefit from what you're about to introduce. A lot of companies have lost a lot of money, reason being simple. They are relying on traditional based pay, whereby even if someone has not done anything, still they're entitled to their salary. And a lot of companies are losing money like that. So there is a need for companies to come up with competence-based pay so that the company will also be able to attain some values from there. I'll give an example. There are people like in my country and
so leader, are you saying competence-based pay can motivate productivity or quality?
Yes. Number one, it will bring about productivity. Two, it will bring about standard and quality. Reason being simple, these people, they will aim to do the best. It's more like you are looking at perfection to some degree because they will be competing for the skills. Yes, my leader.
I want you
My
to
leader.
get me from now to December, from now to January 31st. I need you to get me a 15-page or 10 to 15-page evaluation of our school. In the evaluation, I want you to suggest to us how we can attract the best leaders, or because when they come, they are first student. We are the one that gave them the leaders title. How we can attract the best people like you who come and they follow through and they make us proud. I need that in 30 days.
I'll surely work on that, my CEO. Thank you for that opportunity.
I'm proud of you.
And
just always know that.
And another thing for you, I'm so proud of
Yes,
you.
sir.
I'm so proud of you. And just know that you are part of real music. And
Thank you, dear Papa. Thank you.
I want you to know that if real music will be established in your country, you will be one of those persons that will establish it there.
That would be a privilege. I'm really humbled. I'm really humbled.
Very good. Very good. So you are one of the best. And I look forward to see real music working with you to bring opportunities to people, young people in that place through you. And matter of fact, he's also a dean of a school. That man is highly educated.
Yes.
And he's been prepared more and more. He's one step away from being in level 7 to start teaching in this school. Leader Joseph, you are the real product. You are a real product of this school. Thank you.
And for your information, real music is a platform. It's a platform that go out there and look for people with no beginning, with their music career, talents, dance, studio work, engineers. You should just have a little beginning. Come to us, we'll develop it and make you a global star. So it requires leadership, it requires everything. So from your country, I believe there are thousands of young people with no definition of where to start. This is what real music is all about. This platform for you is for me, it's for everybody. This is why we are that proud. This is why we take to you as a leader, and we take to you to carry the news and the goodwill that you have learned from the school of Tuazama leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Oh, is Ibrahim last week?
Yeah, we did that.
No. He came up, but he couldn't.
Okay. Leader Ibrahima. Are you with me, Leader Ibrahima Jakte? Leader Ibrahima Jakte.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Introduce yourself, where you're from, and talk to us about your insights.
Sorry, come again.
Introduce yourself and give us some insights about your thesis.
Yeah, I'm a Gambian. I'm residing in Gambia as well, in the provinces. Tonight, my thesis is factors affecting teaching and learning of mathematics in the Gambia. Basically, case study in Kabafita Upper and Senior Secondary School.
Thank you. So let's get into your thesis.
All right, thank you very much. To start with the abstract, said this dissertation sought to scrutinize the factors affecting teaching and learning of mathematics in Kabafida Upper Basic Schools. The research was led by some theoretical and objective questions, which were to examine the factors affecting teaching and learning of mathematics, choose between mathematics and other subjects, and if the students are given the opportunity, the encounters faced by mathematics teachers, the availability of teaching materials, resource and human resources for teaching and learning mathematics, among others. Significant literatures were reviewed on theories and findings were arised from different authors. The study was based on Kabafida Upper and Senior Secondary, Kabafida Upper and Upper Basic School, which involved one administrator, 3 teachers, mathematics teachers, and 21 students. Mathematics is facing challenges such as poor teaching methodologies, lack of self-practice, motivation, inadequate of teaching materials, and the belief that mathematics is difficult. Therefore, the researcher recommends teachers make adjustment on their methodologies that can help students perform better in mathematics. Furthermore, students should strengthen their belt to self-practice in learning mathematics. The administrators should ensure that essential teaching materials and qualified and competent mathematics teachers are being brought to the school. Lastly, the researcher recommends further research on other social factors affecting students' learning of mathematics. We go to the introduction. Are you hearing me? Hello?
Yes. We're listening to you.
Hello?
We are listening to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. So I want to go into my first chapter. That is the introduction. It's this chapter discusses the background of the problem, statement of the problem, purpose, studies, objective of the study, research questions, the delimitation and limitation in this story were put down. The researchers had read various writings on global Africa and those in the Gambia context on factors affecting teaching and learning mathematics in upper basic schools. The background of the story: mathematics is the science of knowledge, logic, and computation. It is science or study of numbers, quantities, or shapes. Mathematics is the language that has helped us to describe ideas and relations drawn from the environment. Getting 2004.
solving problems that would be impossible otherwise. Mathematics enable us to make invisible to be visible. According to Lebdin, 2009, mathematics demands on students increases as they progress through schools, take up their adult lives at home and workplaces. In order to function mathematically well in the future, students must have a strong foundation in mathematics. A strong foundation involves much more than the raw application of procedural knowledge. Ontario Ministry of Education report in 2004 shows that students should be able to understand, make sense of, and apply mathematics, make connection between concepts, and see patterns throughout in mathematics. The report revealed that students must be able to announce their logic, the flexibility of thinking that will allow them tackle new areas in mathematics, and the willingness to carry out other mathematics, carry on doing mathematics. However, finding by Helen Shaw 2007 put forward that there is a crucial positive relationship between student achievement in mathematics and teacher background. Students that are performing better in mathematics have their teachers with good qualification. Tata 2013 made his study in Nigeria and came up with the finding that students' negative attitude towards mathematics, fear of mathematics.
Leader.
Yes.
Listen, your paper is good, right? The paper is good. I know where you come from. You listening?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. I know where you come from. I know how strong your paper is. I have it on my computer. We will go into it more, and if I need you to come back here, I will get you back here. All right?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, hello? Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Harris Buckeye. I'm from Liberia. Firstly, let me say sorry for the connection problem from my end. And I'm a student of Tuazama Leadership School. I'm here to defend my thesis. And my thesis topic is an analysis of the effectiveness of earning money transaction in the economics of Liberia. A case studies of earning Liberia's capital bypass, Morovia, Liberia, 2018-2020. Firstly, let me acknowledge the Almighty God, my creators, protector of guiding me from birth up to the present. I also write to acknowledge my parents and their numerous contributions in helping me financially or morally to continue with this study in Tuazama Leadership School. Dedication. This thesis is dedicated to Tuazama Leadership School for their numerous contributions to the children of Africa. Astra. The researcher will be discussing the topics and analysis of the effectiveness of orange money transaction in the economies of Liberia, a case studies of orange Liberia's capital bypass, Moravia's Liberia 2018-2020. The specific objectives of these studies include the following:
to abstain and the impacts of orange GSM companies operating in Liberia's economies, to determine the impact of orange money GSM technologies on the peoples of Liberia. The studies will certainly be.
Leader, listen.
Yes, sir.
Your background is very noisy and we cannot continue with you.
Yes, and CEO, this is my problem. You know, we renting in the area and in my room, in their room, they play music. I don't know.
Okay, so what we will do is to have you
Hello?
to think about how you will do it. Next time, we'll have you to do your thesis, but it can be today.
Say, come again?
We cannot keep your background is noisy.
Okay, let me tell them at least for a minute.
Sleep.